Chapter 54. Outer Formation 8 Bane's Yellow Springs. After Mr. Monroe confirmed it, Ding Wugu stopped talking. After confirming the route, Yan Chuan no longer paid attention to the crowd. Instead, he helped the silver-armored army to take care of the two demonic snakes that were about to die. Although Yan Chuan did not do anything, his experience was more important than anything else. With just a few pointers, the demonic snakes were completely dead. Not too far away, Yushi took out a folding fan and gently fanned it. Looking at Yan Chuan in the distance, her eyes gradually narrowed, and at the same time grew brighter and brighter. This was because Yushi felt that although Yan Chuan did not have Ding Wugu's physique, his understanding of feng shui was not inferior to Ding Wugu's. Mr. Monroe, it seems like I was right. Yushi laughed. Saintus, you've always had a good eye. But let's wait until we get the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus. Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly. All right, I'm looking forward to meeting this Yan Chuan. Yushi nodded. Little crane, catch 2 demonic beasts for them every day. Yushi said to the immortal crane beside her. Screech. The red-crowned crane flapped its wings in response. From the side, Ding Wugu glared at Yan Chuan in the distance with resentment. Yang Zigu frowned as he looked at Yushi. At the same time he glared at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan did not hide the meat of the demonic beast. All the soldiers had a mouthful of demonic beast soup to drink, but the amount was limited after all. Only 200 soldiers were the first to eat. After eating the meat of the demonic beasts, the cultivation of the low-level soldiers naturally improved by leaps and bounds. With the demon snake's blood, they could attract a large number of wild beasts like before. Therefore the soldiers never stopped eating meat. Another 10 days passed. Ha! Huoguang gave a loud shout as the long spear in his hand struck a huge boulder. Boom! The boulder exploded. Lord, your subordinate has reached LV8 of the power realm, Huoguang said excitedly. Yan Chuan nodded with satisfaction. During these 10 days, there were people who made breakthroughs one after another. Among the 3,000 soldiers, more than 100 of them were at LV5 of the power realm. And it was still increasing every day. At the peak of a mountain not far away, Yang Zigu stood with his hands behind his back, looking down at the silver-armored army. Ding Wugu stood at the side. 8th level of the power realm? A bunch of country bumpkins. Yang Zigu said disdainfully. Strength state? Yang Zigu really didn't care about this level of cultivation. That's right. They're just a bunch of trash. Ding Wugu also said resentfully. Ding Wugu? Yang Zigu suddenly said solemnly. Yang Zigu looked at the barracks in the distance and said in a deep voice, Ding Wugu, you must get the thing inside the feng shui formation for me. Don't worry, young Master Yang. That million wonders lotus will be ours. Who can take it from us? Mohina Dojin ordered me to do it himself. Ding Wugu said immediately. No. You don't understand what I mean. Yang Zigu shook his head. What I mean is, let me get it, just me. Not Saintus Yushi. Yang Zigu said in a deep voice. Yushi wants to get the million wonders lotus to return a favor to my father. I can't let her return it. I want her to owe me forever. Yang Zigu said with a cold smile. A favor? Ding Wugu was stunned. Don't worry about that. We're outside the formation, so let Yan Chuan do whatever he wants. Once we're inside, we'll need someone like you who has a feng shui constitution. So, once we're inside, do your best to help me get the myriad wonders demonic lotus. If you succeed, I'll ask my father to let you in. Yang Zigu promised. Chapter 55. Ding Wugu's eyes lit up. Yes, Mr. Yang. I will do my best. They circled around for another month. The army finally arrived at the Kuan position of the feng shui array, which was southwest of the array. On a boat in the clouds. After wasting so much time, you mortals are all trash. Yang Zhijio scolded Yan Chuan's army. The sooner we enter the array, the better. Mr. Monroe shook his head and smiled. All right, we're here. Let's go in. Yang Zigu said. There's an army over there? Yushi was taken aback. Everyone looked over. Not far from Yan Chuan's army, there were 2,000 soldiers of the Green Scarf Army. Yan Chuan, Huoguang, and Lu Jin were facing off against the enemy's generals. Below. To Yan Chuan's left was the same huge sea of clouds, but there was also a 50-meter-wide black gap. In front of Yan Chuan there were 7 generals. The one in the lead was very burly. There was a 3-inch-long scar on the left side of his face that looked like a centipede. Lord, that's Zhao Kunwo from the Zhao family. Zhao Qinda's 16th uncle. Lu Jin whispered. Zhao Kunwo glared at Yan Chuan. His eyes were cold. Because not long ago, Zhao Qianda was ordered by him to collude with the great Jing state's consecrator to assassinate Yan Chuan. Since Zhao Qianda is dead, Yan Chuan must be the murderer. Zhao Kunwu? Why don't you bow to me? Yan Chuan said lightly. Bow to you? Do you think a brat like you is worthy of my bow? Bah. Zhao Kunwu said coldly. Ka. The silver armor guards immediately drew their bows. Despising the Lord was a capital offense. At this moment, the silver-armored guards had complete faith in Yan Chuan. As long as he gave the order, they would go through fire and water for him. Kaka. The green scarf army soldiers behind Zhao Kunwu also quickly drew their bows. They were all elite troops and none of them were afraid. For a moment the atmosphere was tense. What are you doing? You want to play with me? Zhao Kunwu's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Obviously, Zhao Kunwu was also a fierce general who had killed his way through the battlefield. Facing the rain of thousands of arrows, his expression did not change. The Zhao clan wants a piece of the pie when the feng shui formation changes? The Zhao family must have other people going in through other entrances, right? Yan Chuan said indifferently. So what if I am? Zhao Kunwu glared. Please? Yan Chuan smiled. Huh. Zhao Kunwu was slightly taken aback. It was a coincidence that the two armies met here. Zhao Kunwu originally thought that there would be a big massacre. Who would have thought that Yan Chuan would admit defeat in the blink of an eye? Ha! When I come out, I'll find you to teach me a lesson. Let's go. Zhao Kunwu laughed proudly. The difference in numbers was not big, but Zhao Kunwu still had a mission. Although he wanted to kill Yan Chuan, he knew that he would have to pay a huge price to do so. Even with Huo Guang's protection, he might not succeed. Since Yan Chuan had admitted defeat, Zhao Kunwu was naturally in a good mood. Wasn't the Emperor of the Emperor's equal admitting defeat the same as Yan Emperor admitting defeat? Zhao Kunwu liked this feeling. Kill Yan Chuan? It wouldn't be too late to kill him after he came out. Zhao Kunwu led the Green Scarf army into the entrance of the feng shui formation. Lord? Huo Guang said unwillingly. Don't worry. He'll be dead in less than 4 hours. Yan Chuan said coldly. Yes. Huo Guang said in surprise. Peng? Mou Shi and the others landed on the ground. Okay, time to go in, Ying Zigu said. Let's go? Mou Shi looked at Yan Chuan. Chapter 56. Yan Chuan nodded and turned to look at the crane. You've been catching monsters every day for the past few days. I think it's better if you don't enter this feng shui formation. Yan Chuan said sincerely. Screech? The crane was displeased. A feng shui formation draws in qi from the earth and connects yin and yang. Birds can't fly inside and are even restricted. You won't be able to fly inside and will only be walking on the ground. You'll be at a disadvantage. Why don't you patrol the perimeter? When the formation is broken, you can fly in as a surprise attack. Yan Chuan advised again. Screech. The crane was still unwilling. Prince Yan is right. I don't know much about feng shui, but I've read about it in some books. Birds can't enter a feng shui formation. Mr. Monroe nodded. Screech? The crane was still unwilling. All right, little crane. Prince Yan is doing this for your own good. Just guard outside and wait for me when the formation is broken. Mou Shi finally said. Screech? The crane rubbed against Mou Shi, feeling wronged. However, Mou Shi was unmoved. Screech? The angry crane flapped its wings and soared into the sky, flying away. Mou Shi smiled bitterly, shook her head, and ignored it. Mou Shi knew that the crane was just throwing a tantrum. Let's go. Mou Shi turned around and said. Yan Chuan nodded. The army slowly walked into the feng shui formation. At this moment, Yan Chuan did not sit in the sedan chair anymore. He slowly walked into the formation under the protection of a group of soldiers. The interior was dark like a tunnel. As they walked, a bright light suddenly appeared in front of them. They quickly walked through the tunnel. When they stepped out of the tunnel, the scenery in front of them suddenly changed. At first glance, it looked like a vast grassland with countless white clouds floating in the sky. On the grassland, plump white rabbits were eating the plump green grass. Some of the white rabbits had found carrots from somewhere and were happily nibbling on them. The sudden intrusion of 3,000 people startled the nearby white rabbits and they quickly ran away. Not long after they ran away, they foolishly forgot everything and continued to nibble on the grass and carrots. Lord Zhao Kunwu and the others are over there. In the distance, Zhao Kunwu's army headed northwest. The marching speed was very fast because in the northwest direction, there seemed to be a yellow pillar that connected the sky to the earth. It was the only strange sight on the grassland. Ding Wugu, what pillar is that? Yang Zigu asked. My constitution can sense it. That's the entrance to the inner array, Ding Wugu said proudly. Let's go. Don't let those ants take the lead. Yang Zigu said excitedly. Young Master Yang? Have you forgotten about the Acheron horse fiend? Mr. Monroe frowned. Ah? Yang Zigu raised his eyebrows and immediately calmed down. Prince Yen, do you recognize this array? Amoyushi asked. Everyone looked over. I've heard of it. Only when the Acheron spring opens can we break into the inner array from that pillar. Yen Chuan did not hide anything. The Acheron spring opens? Amoyushi was puzzled. When all the white clouds in the sky are dyed yellow by the Acheron spring, that's when the entrance opens. At the same time, it's also the most dangerous time. It happens once a day. Yen Chuan said. I remember now. That day when we entered the other entrance, the Acheron horse fiend appeared. It was when the yellow clouds were dense. Yang Zigu's eyes lit up. There's still some time. Everyone wait patiently. Yen Chuan said to everyone. Turning around, Yen Chuan looked at Hua Guang and said, Now, kill the rabbits and take their blood. Yes. Hua Guang did not understand, but he quickly carried out the order. Nearly 3,000 soldiers immediately obeyed the order. They drew their bows and began to kill the white rabbits around them. Kill rabbits? Ding Wugu looked extremely disdainful. Let's go and take a look at that pillar, Yang Zigu shouted. Mou Shi and the others nodded. In the blink of an eye, Mou Shi, Mr. Monroe, and the others left Yen Chuan. Yen Chuan ignored them. Instead, he ordered the soldiers to kill as many rabbits as possible. Chapter 57. Xiu? Xiu? Xiu. The silver-armored army's archers were all sharpshooters. Their arrows flashed and killed the white rabbits one by one. The dead rabbits quickly gathered. Hua Guang ordered the soldiers to quickly collect the rabbit blood. Soon, a bucket of rabbit blood was placed in front of Yen Chuan. Lord, what is the use of this rabbit blood? Hua Guang asked curiously. Yen Chuan scooped up a bowl and poured it on himself. Hua! Yen Chuan's chest was immediately dyed red by the rabbit blood. Lord? Lu Jin exclaimed. There are still 4 hours before dusk in the outside world. In these 4 hours, all soldiers apply the rabbit blood on your armor. Quick! Yen Chuan said in a low voice. Hua Guang's eyes were filled with doubts. He did not understand what Yen Chuan was doing, but he immediately carried out the order. Yes. Everyone, smear yourselves with rabbit blood. Hua Guang ordered. The officers and soldiers were puzzled. But when they turned their heads and saw that Yen Chuan was applying the rabbit blood, they immediately obeyed. A grandiose operation to kill rabbits began. Even though there were many rabbits, they could not withstand the large-scale slaughter of the 3,000 silver-armored army. Thus, the silver-armored army killed the rabbits as they walked towards the yellow pillar. Along the way, countless rabbits suffered from destructive attacks. In the distance outside the pillar, Zhao Kunwu led the army to surround the pillar, but the pillar did not have any abnormalities. Zhao Kunwu was filled with doubts. When Mou Shi and the others arrived, although the Green Scarf Army tried to stop them, the Green Scarf Army no longer dared to offend Mou Shi and the others after Azure Dragon threw a reckless little general a kilometer away. Zhao Kunwu quickly restrained the soldiers. These people were definitely from the Immortal sect. If they did not want to die, it was best to stay away. Ding Wugu, where is the entrance? Mou Shi asked. The entrance is not open yet, but I feel that it should be soon. Ding Wugu said immediately. Mou Shi frowned and looked around. Yen Chuan said that there will be danger when the Yellow Springs opens. Mr. Monroe, what do you think? Mou Shi asked Mr. Monroe. Mr. Monroe laughed. Saintus, you are wrong. Why don't you ask? My guess is not accurate. As soon as Mr. Wenrua said this, everyone immediately turned to look at Yen Chuan, including Ding Wugu's jealous gaze. However, the moment they saw the 3,000 silver-armored soldiers in the distance, their faces froze unconsciously. What are they doing? Yang Zhijiu asked curiously. Are they stupid? Smear the body with rabbit blood? Ding Wugu was also at a loss. In the distance, the original silver-armored army had already changed into the blood-armored army. Their bodies were red. The silver-armored army at the front was shooting a rain of arrows. They quickly killed the rabbits, then grabbed them and smeared their blood all over their bodies. This, Mr. Monroe, have you seen this in the records? Mou Shi was also confused. Mr. Monroe shook his head. We caught a rabbit just now, but there was nothing wrong with it. This Yen Chuan, I can't figure it out. Yen Chuan must have a reason for doing this. It's just that he doesn't want to say it. Mou, she said seriously. Haha, a king on par with the emperor? Are you stupid? These people are crazy. Zhao Kunwu laughed. Ah. Zhao Kunwu laughed mockingly. His subordinates also laughed. In the distance, Yan Chuan's army was approaching. When all the soldiers were smeared with rabbit blood, the army was already in front of them. Chapter 58. Yan Chuan showed a hint of disdain in the face of everyone's mockery. He ignored them and looked at the pillar that connected heaven and earth. A ray of yellow light suddenly appeared on the pillar. The yellow spring is about to open. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and said, What? Hu Guang did not understand. Get into formation and gather together. Yan Chuan ordered. Yes. Get into formation. Hu Guang shouted. Boom. The silver armor army quickly gathered together. The sudden gathering of Yan Chuan's army attracted everyone's attention. They all looked at the yellow pillar in the center. A ray of yellow light flashed across the yellow pillar. Suddenly, a yellow halo appeared on the white clouds that surrounded the pillar in the sky. The yellow halo flashed and a few white clouds were dyed yellow. 8 Evil's Yellow Spring. Just as Yan Chuan said, the yellow spring is about to open. Mr. Monroe said with a serious expression. It's not just the sky. Look at the ground. Qing Long said. Where the yellow clouds covered, traces of yellow liquid suddenly appeared on the ground. As soon as the yellow liquid appeared, the grass was dyed yellow. The yellow clouds in the sky kept increasing. On the ground, the yellow liquid was also rapidly expanding. From the pillar, it continued to expand, growing bigger and bigger. What's going on? Zhao Kunwu's expression changed. Not far from Zhao Kunwu's army, a little white rabbit was happily eating a carrot. At this moment, the yellow liquid on the ground spread to the little white rabbit. The little white rabbit's body shook, and its body grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. The little white rabbit grew bigger and bigger. Slowly, the white rabbit's body reached 10 feet, 20 feet. A 20 feet tall rabbit? Not only that, but the rabbit's body also seemed to have evolved. Its 2 front legs seemed to have become arms. It sat on the ground with its back facing everyone. What's that? How did the rabbit grow bigger? A young soldier exclaimed. The 20 feet tall rabbit had its back facing everyone. The rabbit's body was slightly emitting a thick black evil aura. The rabbit grew bigger? What kind of monster is that? A demon beast? Impossible, it was just an ordinary rabbit just now. Camouflage? Sir, what should we do? The soldiers looked fearfully at the huge rabbit that had suddenly grown to a height of 6 meters. Fear flashed in his eyes. You go over and take a look. Zhao Kunwu said to a young general. Your Excellency, I'm afraid. The young general said in fear. What are you waiting for? If you don't go, I'll kill you. Zhao Kunwu glared and shouted. Yes. The young general walked forward fearfully. Creak, creak. The big rabbit, whose back was facing everyone, made strange noises. The young general walked forward timidly. The long saber in his hand was also trembling. Not daring to go around to the front, the young general walked closer and stabbed the long saber in his hand at the big rabbit. The knife was about to pierce into the rabbit's body. Oh! A white light flashed. The young general immediately left the ground and flew into the air. A large, furry hand grabbed the young general. The big white rabbit turned around at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, it had captured the young general. It held him tightly in its hand. Save me. Your Excellency, save me. The young general cried for help in fear. However, the Green Scarf Army seemed to be scared out of their wits. The 2,000 soldiers unconsciously took a step back in fear. What kind of monster is that? A Green Scarf Army soldier cried out in fear. Chapter 59. The big white rabbit turned around, but it wasn't a big white rabbit anymore. It had a human-like face, no, a demonic face. 2 lantern-sized scarlet eyes, a face surrounded by black gas, and when the rabbit opened its mouth, it revealed saw-like sharp teeth. Squeak, squeak. The rabbit's squeak was the sound of 2 rows of rabbit teeth rubbing against each other, as if 2 large saws were sawing at each other. It was terrifying. Help! Little General, who was caught in the big rabbit's hand, kept crying out. The big rabbit seemed to be annoyed. It turned its head to look at the young general in its hand. The big rabbit grinned. The young general was sure that this was the scariest smile he had ever seen in his life. The rabbit's smile? Was too scary. But this thought didn't last long. The big rabbit brought the young general to its mouth. No? The young general screamed in horror. Crunch. Like a carrot, the young general was bitten in half by the big rabbit. Blood splattered everywhere. It was extremely bloody. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The big rabbit enjoyed this human-shaped carrot. Its mouth twisted as it chewed on half of the young general's body. Eating people? The soldiers had killed countless people, but they had never seen someone eat a person like a carrot. Some of the soldiers were used to seeing mountains of corpses and seas of blood, but at this moment, their legs went weak and their stomachs churned. Oh whoa! Squeak, squeak, squeak. The other half of the young general's body was also eaten by the big rabbit. It looked like it was enjoying itself. Netherworld Rabbit Demon? This is the Netherworld Rabbit Demon? Yang Ziga's expression was extremely ugly. Is it going to start? Mr. Monroe frowned slightly. In the distance, the big rabbit had just eaten a person and was very unsatisfied. It looked at the green scarf army again. Its scarlet eyes flashed with greed. Bang! The big rabbit jumped and was not far away from the green scarf army. No, don't come over, don't come over. Some green scarf army soldiers shouted in horror. Release the arrows, release the arrows. Zhao Kunwu shouted in horror. Swish. 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 A large number of arrows rained down. But now, the rabbit was no longer the ordinary rabbit. It was the Netherworld Rabbit Demon that had been demonized by the yellow liquid. Hundreds of arrows rained down. Bang! All of them were rebounded by the rabbit's fur. Boom! Boom! The rabbit approached again, and with a wave of its hand, a large number of soldiers were flung away. He grabbed a green scarf army soldier with each hand. No, don't eat me. Help! The two green scarf army soldiers roared in shock. But how could the rabbit demon listen to Radish at this moment? Crack. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Crack. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The sound of chewing radishes could be heard incessantly. The rabbit devils brought about great panic as they continuously gnawed at the green scarf army. Release the arrows, release the arrows. Retreat. Retreat. The green scarf army immediately fell into chaos. Zhao Kunwu quickly retreated with the green scarf army. However, the nightmare had just begun. As the number of yellow clouds in the sky increased, more and more yellow liquid seeped out from the ground. All the rabbits that came into contact with the yellow liquid would experience a huge change in their bodies. In the vast grassland, 1 rabbit demon, 10 rabbit demons, 100 rabbit demons, 1,000 rabbit demons. The number of Yellow Springs rabbit devils kept increasing, and they surrounded everyone with a strong offensive power. Oh! The green scarf army soldiers looked at the countless rabbit demons in horror. Chapter 60. No. The green scarf army looked at the countless rabbit demons surrounding them in fear. More and more rabbit demons appeared. From all directions, they gathered towards the central pillar and pounced on everyone. All the radishes. Boom. Boom. The rabbit demons used its strength and slapped a large number of soldiers. It grabbed them one by one and bit them. Save me. No. Let me go. The green scarf army lost all their advantages in front of the demons. They panicked and fled in all directions. Many of them were even trampled to death by their brothers in the chaos. Retreat, retreat. Zhao Kunwu roared with red eyes. However, no matter how fast they were, could they be faster than the demons? If not for the fact that there were too many of them and the rabbit demons couldn't speak, these 2,000 soldiers would have already died. Boom. Boom. Brr. Roar. In order to fight for the radishes, the rabbit demons also fought and bit each other. The scene became extremely chaotic. Cries, chewing, rushing, and escaping sounds instantly became very noisy. Not far from Mouxia, a rabbit demon roared and pounced. Roar. Qing Long changed positions and blocked in front of Mouxia and punched. Boom. The rabbit demon was immediately sent flying and rolled a dozen times on the ground. Brr. Brr. The rabbit demon wasn't killed. It flipped over and got up. However, its fur had turned pink and the evil aura around it was increasing. It looked more and more evil. Brr. With a roar, the rabbit demon pounced again and stomped on the ground, creating a large pit. His body was surrounded by a black aura, as if he was a demon from hell. Qing Long seal. Qing Long shouted. He pinched a hand seal and a green light emerged from his hand. Then he shot it toward the devil rabbit with a loud rumble. Boom. The rabbit demon was sent flying again. Its body was covered in wounds but it was still alive. Its fur was dyed red by its own blood. The black chi was so dense that it was like a fog. Saintess, this monster is getting stronger and stronger, Qing Long said worriedly. The 4 of you blocked the rabbit demon. Mouxia said solemnly. Yes. Qing Long and the other 3 subordinates obeyed. Ding Wugu, you are a feng shui master. Where is the entrance? Can you feel it? Mouxia stared at Wugu. Wugu's expression turned ugly. I can sense that the entrance is right here in the pillar, but the entrance hasn't appeared yet. I don't know, Ding Wugu panicked. What? There are more and more rabbit devils. Yang Zhijio said with an ugly expression. Ask that brat. Ding Wugu immediately shouted. At this moment, the most panicked person was Wugu. Apart from those mortals, his cultivation was the lowest. If he was not careful, he would die on the spot. Ding Wugu was well aware of how strong the Azure Dragon was. However, even such a powerful Azure Dragon had failed to kill the Devil Rabbit several times. This was not just one but tens of thousands. At this moment he even forgot to be jealous of Yan Chuan and immediately looked at Yan Chuan. Not only Wugu, everyone looked at Yan Chuan. But when they saw Yan Chuan's army, everyone was instantly petrified. This group of demon rabbit, are they crazy? Yang Zigu said in disbelief. Yan Chuan saw Wugu's panicked expression in the distance and immediately showed a trace of disdain. Chapter 61. Feng Shui Master? This guy counts as a Feng Shui Master? He's not even fit to carry the shoes of the lowest-ranked Feng Shui Master. Yan Chuan said disdainfully. Even someone like him who didn't cultivate Feng Shui knew how to get through the formation, but the Feng Shui Master was panicking. No wonder Yan Chuan was so disdainful. Lord, why aren't these monsters attacking us? Is it because of the rabbit blood on us? Hua Guang was still uncertain. After all, the scene of the Green Scarf army being eaten alive was too shocking. But these monsters didn't dare to approach? What? They're demonized white rabbits, not monsters. They don't have the intelligence of monsters, only their instincts. They're vicious, violent, bloodthirsty, and gluttonous. But at the same time they can sense the smell of blood on us. This isn't ordinary blood, it's their own. Although you can't see it, in the eyes of these rabbit demons, our blood is overwhelming, and it's the blood left behind by the deaths of many of their kind. Therefore the rabbit demons are instinctively afraid. They don't dare to approach. Yan Chuan explained. I understand. The Lord ordered us to kill rabbits from the beginning. Was it for this moment? Hua Guang said in admiration. Fortunately, the Lord is here. The young generals nearby sighed. So there's no need to be afraid. Yan Chuan shook his head. It's not that simple. These rabbits can't take care of us now, but as time passes they might not be able to resist and rush over. At this moment Zhao Kunwu, who was fleeing in the distance, suddenly turned his head and froze. Impossible? Zhao Kunwu roared angrily. It wasn't just Zhao Kunwu. The Green Scarf army escorting Zhao Kunwu all stared with wide eyes. In the distance Yan Chuan's 3,000 soldiers stood there quietly. Not a single rabbit demon attacked. Not attack. What? Seeing more than half of his Green Scarf army dead, and Yan Chuan's unscathed army in the distance, Zhao Kunwu felt an indescribable resentment. Blood? Is it rabbit blood? Zhao Kunwu suddenly thought. Previously, when Yan Chuan's army kept killing rabbits and smearing their bodies with their blood, Zhao Kunwu had laughed out loud. Only now did he know why. Rabbit blood? It turned out that rabbit blood could scare off this group of monsters. You little bastard, Zhao Kunwu said angrily. Sir, those monsters are chasing us again. Let's go. A young general urged from the side. Monster? Zhao Kunwu quivered. Immediately, Zhao Kunwu withdrew his consciousness and was about to flee. But as soon as he turned his head, nearly 100 demonic rabbits surrounded him from all directions. As for his small group, there were only about 100 people in total. My lord, how do we escape? The young general said in horror. The members of the Green Scarf army revealed looks of despair. Go to Yan Chuan's place. Quick, go there. Zhao Kunwu shouted anxiously. Yes. Everyone immediately responded. Sir, when the time comes let's beg Yan Chuan. After all, we are still the Yan State's army. He can't just ignore us. A young general suddenly shouted. And? Zhao Kunwu nodded. A group of people ran towards Yan Chuan. Behind them, a group of demonic rabbits kept chasing. Your Highness, that group of traitors is here. Lu Jin's expression changed as he said. They even attracted a large group of demonic rabbits. Lord, what should we do? Hua Guang was also worried. Plotting against the state and looking down on the king. Kill them. Yan Chuan's eyes turned cold. Yes. Hua Guang immediately understood Yan Chuan's meaning. Put the arrows on the crossbows. Hua Guang waved his hand. Kaka. 2,000 crossbows immediately aimed in Zhao Kunwu's direction. Chapter 62. Don't. We surrender. Lord, we were wrong. Please save us. Lord, Zhao Kunwu was wrong. Lord, please have mercy on us. The green scarf army soldiers cried and begged for mercy. Yan Chuan stood with his hands behind his back. He squinted his eyes and shook his head. It's too late. Fire. Huo Guang ordered. Boom. Arrows rained down on Zhao Kunwu and the others. More than 2,000 arrows, like more than 2,000 death talismans, suddenly landed on more than 100 green scarf army soldiers. Don't. After a round of arrows, more than half of them were turned into porcupines. Their bodies were pierced by arrows and they died with hatred. However, there were also 16 people with high cultivation. Their bodies glowed with green light and blocked the arrows. They were lucky enough to survive. Zhao Kunwu clutched his left shoulder that had been pierced. His eyes were filled with hatred. Yan Chuan, you will die a horrible death. Traitor, you deserve to die. Yan Chuan snorted. Zhao Kunwu's eyes were red. The scar on his face twitched. He shouted, everyone follow me and kill Yan Chuan. Yes. The 15 generals who were still alive shouted. Boom. The 15 of them charged at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan stood at the head of the 3,000 soldiers. He was the closest to Zhao Kunwu and the others. Seeing everyone running over without regard for their lives, Huo Guang's face changed and he said, release the arrows. Protect him. Lu Jin shouted. Boom. A large number of arrows rained down on the 15 people. More than a dozen silver-armored soldiers rushed forward to protect him. Lord, retreat with the old slave. Zhao Kunwu and the others are crazy. Lu Jin shouted Jiaohu. Yan Chuan ignored her. Retreat? How could this bunch of filthy people make him retreat? Under the rain of arrows, another 5 generals were killed on the spot. However, the cultivation of this group of people was too high, and 11 of them rushed forward. As the two sides clashed, the nearby silver-armored soldiers swarmed forward. The long spears turned into a forest of spears, fiercely thrusting. Dang. Dang. The 11 powerhouses' bodies glowed with green light as they waved their long sabers. Streaks of green saber light shot out as they blocked the silver-armored soldiers. There were 3,000 silver armor guards, but not many of them relied on Yan Chuan. Even though they were surging from behind, they were still too slow. Zhao Kunwu broke out of the encirclement with 3 of them and arrived in front of Yan Chuan in an instant. Toxic Dragon Drill. Huo Guang's long spear emitted a dazzling silver light. It seemed as if it had transformed into a silver dragon, and ruthlessly pierced towards Zhao Kunwu. You are already at LV8 of the Power Realm? Zhao Kunwu's expression changed. Dragon slaying slash. The broadsword in Zhao Kunwu's hand blossomed with a dazzling green light, and fiercely chopped towards Huo Guang's long spear. Boom. The saber and the spear collided with a loud noise, and the ground beneath their feet cracked. Huo Guang's long spear broke into pieces, and so did Zhao Kunwu's broadsword. Ta ta ta. Huo Guang retreated 7 or 8 steps before he could stabilize himself. My lord. A silver-armored Jiaohu next to him shouted. Whoosh. Huo Guang snatched his long spear and rushed forward again. When Huo Guang was pushed back, Zhao Kunwu also took 2 steps back. His eyes were filled with uncertainty, but Zhao Kunwu also reacted quickly. He threw away his broken broadsword and rushed towards Yan Chuan barehanded. Without Huo Guang blocking his way, Zhao Kunwu sped up. Stop. Huo Guang threw his long spear towards Zhao Kunwu who was rushing towards Yan Chuan. Whoosh. Zhao Kunwu quickly dodged and looked at Huo Guang who was about to catch up with him. Chapter 63. Stop Huo Guang. Stop Huo Guang. Zhao Kunwu shouted. Yes. 2 subordinates answered and went to stop Huo Guang. Sir. Another young soldier threw a spear. Huo Guang caught it and shouted at the 2 people blocking his way, those who block me will die. Boom. The spear broke one person's broadsword and went straight for his shoulder. However, the other person slashed at Huo Guang. Boom. Huo Guang blocked his blade, but his body was dragged down. Zhao Kunwu arrived in front of Yan Chuan in the blink of an eye. Whoosh. 10 spears came from all directions, but the cultivation of these silver-armored guards was far inferior to Zhao Kunwu's. Boom. Boom. Zhao Kunwu's body emitted a green light. When he stretched out his hand and punched, the spears around him were knocked away and he went straight for Yan Chuan who was 2 steps away. At this moment, Lu Jin was entangled by the last person brought by Zhao Kunwu. In an instant, Yan Chuan was exposed to Zhao Kunwu's palms. Because his left shoulder was hit by an arrow, Zhao Kunwu's right hand formed a claw and grabbed at Yan Chuan's throat. He wanted to break Yan Chuan's throat. Zhao Kunwu's right claw was filled with killing intent. It scratched Yan Chuan's face. Yan Chuan didn't retreat. His eyes were cold. Just as the green claw was about to grab him, Yan Chuan leaned back and narrowly avoided Zhao Kunwa's claw. Wide open. Yan Chuan's disdainful voice sounded in Zhao Kunwa's ears. Zhao Kunwa's expression changed. At this moment, Yan Chuan's right hand went straight for Zhao Kunwa's chest. Boom. Yan Chuan's right hand was emitting a golden light. At this moment, it seemed to have turned into a golden dragon claw. Boom. The claw broke Zhao Kunwa's armor. It pierced through the green light and embedded itself into his flesh. Oh. Zhao Kunwa's expression changed. His body flipped violently. Zhao Kunwa dodged Yan Chuan's heart-piercing claw, but a large chunk of his flesh was still clawed off by Yan Chuan. White bone hand. As Zhao Kunwa flipped his body, his hand strangely passed through the gap between the flipped body. Like a steel claw, cold light radiated in all directions, and once again grabbed at Yan Chuan's face. Zhao family's ultimate technique? In the distance, Lu Jin's expression changed greatly. Lord. The silver armored Jiaohu shouted. The white bone hand was the most powerful skill of the Zhao family. It was said that no one under the state of essence could resist it. Zhao Kunwa actually knew the white bone hand? Uchi. The sound of flesh being torn apart could be heard and blood splattered everywhere. Yan Chuan and Zhao Kunwa stopped fighting. Almost everyone suddenly fell silent. Zhao Kunwa's skeletal hand didn't touch Yan Chuan's body. It only grabbed Yan Chuan's shoulder. However, Yan Chuan's palm had pierced into Zhao Kunwa's chest. LV7 of the state of strength? You are only at LV7 of the state of strength? But I am at LV9 of the state of strength? What? Zhao Kunwa asked in disbelief. The skill you practice is too weak. There are too many flaws. Yan Chuan said lightly. Squeak. Yan Chuan clenched his hand violently and crushed Zhao Kunwa's heart. A large amount of blood splattered everywhere. No, the white bone hand of the Zhao family is the best in the state of strength. The family head said that no one can break the state of strength. There are no flaws. Zhao Kunwa shouted with his last breath. But in my eyes there are flaws everywhere. Yan Chuan said disdainfully. No. Zhao Kunwa breathed his last in despair. Bang. Yan Chuan pulled his hand out of Zhao Kunwa's chest. Chi. 10 spears pierced through Zhao Kunwa. Lord. The green scarf army shouted in fear. Die. Hua Guang pierced through another person. A large number of blood armor soldiers rushed over and killed the rest of the rebels. Bang. The corpses of Zhao Kunwa and the others were thrown out. Chapter 64. A group of demon rabbits immediately surrounded them and quickly divided up the corpses. They held the corpses in their hands and chewed. Although the blood armor army was not troubled by the demon rabbits, they still felt their stomachs churn when they saw the demon rabbits eating people up close. Not far away, Moushi's subordinates took up 4 positions to protect the group. A large number of demon rabbits surrounded them. These demon rabbits seemed to be unkillable. Qing Long attacked again and again, making the demon rabbits stronger and stronger. Even when Qing Long cut a demon rabbit in half, the demon rabbit could still live. It leaned together and recovered to its original state. Mr. Monroe, these monsters can't be killed. What kind of monsters are they? Qing Long said anxiously. If they were demon beasts, Qing Long would have killed them long ago. However, these rabbits could not be killed. Underworld rabbit demons? Are they related to the underworld? The underworld guides dead souls. As long as the soul is not destroyed, they will not die? Mr. Monroe frowned. Moreover, even if we pay the price to destroy the soul of the rabbit, there are still countless demon rabbits here. Moushi said worriedly. Then what should we do? Qing Long said anxiously. Let's go. Let's get closer to Yan Chuan and ask him. Mr. Monroe said. Yes. Everyone answered. The 4 experts kept sending the demon rabbits flying as they approached Yan Chuan. However, the demon rabbits that were sent flying immediately rushed over again. Wherever they passed, the sky was filled with demon rabbits that were sent flying. At the same time, Yan Chuan's army was also in danger. With the death of the Green Scarf army, more and more demon rabbits surrounded Yan Chuan. Ka. The demon rabbits glared and kept growling. The demon rabbits became more and more irritable. They felt the fear of the demon blood on everyone and suppressed their desire to devour them. Ka. More and more demon rabbits gathered. When there were more than 500 of them, some of them were ready to attack. Lord, what should we do? Hua Guang looked worried. Seal, sword seal of the Akala seal. Yan Chuan shouted. Sword seal? Sword seal. Hua Guang was at a loss at first, but then he immediately understood. Quickly give out orders. Ka. The 3,000 soldiers quickly stabbed their spears into the ground. The index and middle fingers of his left hand stretched out separately, and he used his thumb to press down on the fingernails of his little finger and ring finger. His right hand did the same, and he placed his index and middle fingers on the palm of his left hand, stacking the two swords. The sword seal was formed. 3,000 sword seal. Done. 1. The group of rabbit demons suddenly fell silent. Rabbit demon could see the blood fiend formed by the rabbit blood. Originally he only saw wisps of blood-colored fog surrounding everyone, but at that moment the blood-colored fog changed. Sho. In an instant, it was as if 3,000 blood-red swords had emerged from the blood mist. The original blood fiend was catalyzed to the extreme. Silently recite the mantra. Yan Chuan ordered. Recite the mantra. Yan Chuan's order was quickly passed down by word of mouth, and the entire army quickly understood. Southern three-man duo Fa Jaluo Valiant. Southern three-man duo Fa Jaluo Valiant. Southern three-man duo Fa Jaluo Valiant. The 3,000 soldiers recited the mantra and immediately activated the sword seal. In the eyes of the rabbit demons, the 3,000 blood-red swords immediately shot out sharp blood fiend sword auras. Like a hurricane they surged towards the group of rabbit demons. Although the sword seal activated by mortals did not have much power, and only had a majestic aura, these demon rabbits did not have much intelligence, only instinct. The terrifying sword baleful aura shot over, and the rabbit demon seemed to have seen despair. It immediately retreated in fear. Woo woo woo. The rabbit demons stumbled and crawled away in fear. In their panic they even collided with each other. The scene was in chaos. This came from the purest of instincts. As the rabbit demons could be revived, they did not fear death. However, Yan Chuan's army was stained with the blood fiend of their own kind. They were truly killed and in large numbers. Once the sword fiend was released, it was as if a great destruction had swept over. How could the rabbit demons not flee? The eyes of the silver armor army lit up, and they were all unusually excited. Because at this moment, everyone understood that this was not a trick. It was a real immortal technique, an immortal technique. Everyone looked at Yan Chuan gratefully. He carefully and solemnly recalled this set of Akalanatha seal, afraid that he would forget it. Lord, we've succeeded, we've succeeded, Wo Guang said excitedly. The rabbit demons scattered, causing the people in the distance to be shocked. Yang Zigu and Ding Wugu's faces twitched. Jing Long felt bitter. He was an expert, but he could not achieve anything after fighting for so long. Yet, the rabbit demons did not dare to approach those mortals? Mr. Monroe, what seal is this? Moyushi's eyes lit up. What is seal? Akalanatha seal. Mr. Monroe said solemnly. Akalanatha seal? Moyushi said in surprise. Akalanatha seal is easy to learn but difficult to master. It also lost some of the seals. It's an incomplete set, Mr. Monroe said thoughtfully. Incomplete set? This set of seals requires constant practice and accumulation of years. The longer you practice it, the stronger it will be. Although the power of this group of mortals is not great, it's perfect to use here. The most important thing is the blood of the rabbit demons. This Yan Chuan should be very familiar with the 8 Evils Yellow Springs formation. He was able to resolve the crisis step by step with a group of mortals, Mr. Monroe said with a frown. Yes, he really knows this formation. Moyushi said expectantly. Chapter 65. Moyushi's 3 subordinates lured the group of red-furred demon rabbits away. The others approached Yan Chuan. Prince Yan, are you familiar with this formation? Moyushi looked at Yan Chuan and asked. Yan Chuan looked at the others. Although his cultivation in his previous life was gone, his eyesight did not diminish. Other than Mr. Wenrua, everyone else had a high and mighty attitude, including Moyushi. She was polite to him because he was useful to her. This superior attitude made Yan Chuan extra careful. Therefore, when the others made the unreasonable request of asking Yan Chuan to be their guide, Yan Chuan immediately agreed. I've heard of this outer formation before, but not much. Yan Chuan smiled. Not much. What else? Moyushi asked. Yan Chuan looked at the sky. Yellow clouds were about to cover the entire sky. Yan Chuan narrowed his eyes and said, the entrance is about to appear. Similarly, the most dangerous moment is coming. The others were slightly surprised. Rumble. The moment the yellow clouds covered the sky, a loud boom rang out, and the entire world inside the formation shook violently. The shaking was most intense at the center of the yellow pillar. After a series of explosions, the ground around the yellow pillar cracked. As the ground shook, 8 mounds appeared around the pillar. The mounds grew larger and larger. Gradually they rose from the ground and looked like 8 tall mountains. Why are there 8 mountains suddenly? She frowned. These are not mountains. These are 8 graves. When the 8 Malice Yellow Springs formation is set up, the Feng Shui master must bury 64 powerful monsters alive. These are the graves of 8 of them. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Bury them alive? Qing Long was surprised. It's similar to burying them alive. This way they can accumulate their resentment and set up the formation with their resentment. This is a common method used by many Feng Shui formations. Haven't you heard of it? Yan Chuan looked at the others. Mr. Monroe shook his head and said, there are very few Feng Shui books. The Feng Shui master's heritage is passed down by word of mouth. We don't have many Feng Shui masters here. Therefore we know very little about Feng Shui. Isn't he a Feng Shui master? Yan Chuan looked at Ding Wu with a smile. Ding Wu Ding's face, the Feng Shui array I studied just happened to not have this. Ding Wu Gu argued. On the ground there was a yellow liquid, on the ground was a sea. The ground. Is the ground is sinking? The ground? Qing Long's face changed. The Feng Shui masters. The 8 Feng Shui master is, Feng Shui master, NN. As. Yan Chuan walked at the front and analyzed the 8 tombs in front of him. His eyes narrowed and the corners of his mouth curled up. He immediately walked towards one of the tombs. With Yan Chuan leading the way, the group naturally walked into one of the tombs. Although it was called a tomb, the tomb was extremely tall. Just as they walked to the foot of the tomb, the group subconsciously turned their heads to look back. Behind them was a vast yellow spring sea. In the yellow spring sea, many Feng Shui rabid demons seemed to have sunk into the yellow spring sea and disappeared. Only 8 of them did not disappear. Moreover, these 8 Feng Shui rabid demons grew bigger and bigger. 50 feet, 30 feet, 50 feet, 1,000 feet tall. As the Feng Shui rabid demons grew bigger, the murderous aura around them grew heavier. Roar. The 8 Feng Shui rabid demons roared at the sky. The yellow clouds in the sky spun rapidly and the weather changed. Chapter 66. 8 rabid demons, each guarding a huge tomb. One of them was guarding the huge tomb Yan Chuan's group was in. Immediately it roared and charged forward. Shi's 3 subordinates floated in the air. White Tiger, Rosefinch, Xuanwu. The 3 subordinates formed hand seals and attacked the rabbit demons. Balls of white light, red light and black light shot straight at the enormous devil rabbit pouncing over. Boom. The huge impact caused the rabbit demons to tremble. But the rabbit demons still charged forward. Boom. Boom. 2 slaps sent 2 of them flying. Not good. Qing Long's expression changed. Qing Long stepped forward and joined the battle. 100 zhang? How tall was 100 zhang? 1 zhang was 1 floor. 100 zhang was a monster as tall as 100 floors? At this moment, the silver-armored army was shocked. Their eyes also flashed with desire. They wanted to have such power. Saintus, quickly find the entrance. The 4 of us will block it. Qing Long said. Jiaohu. All right. She nodded. As she spoke, she looked at Yan Chuan. I found it. I found the entrance. Ding Wu Gu suddenly danced with joy. Chem? Everyone turned to look at Ding Wu Gu. I can feel it. It's at the top of the mountain. No, it's at the top of this tomb. I can feel it. Ding Wu Gu immediately said excitedly. At the same time, Ding Wu Gu looked at Yan Chuan provocatively. Yan Chuan smiled faintly. As for the exact entrance, only people with special physiques can sense it. I can't sense it. Let's go up the mountain first. Yang Zigu said excitedly. Let's go. Ding Wu Gu walked at the front with excitement. Go up the mountain. Yan Chuan said. Yes. Huo Guang replied. 3,000 soldiers followed Yan Chuan up the mountain quickly. Ding Wu Gu and the others had high cultivation levels, so their speed was especially fast. In the blink of an eye, they had left the army behind. Looking at Ding Wu Gu's smug appearance, Yan Chuan revealed an imperceptible sneer. At the top of the mountain, there was a huge platform carved with a large number of runes. Ding Wu Gu, Yang Zigu and the others were the first to reach the peak. Ding Wu Gu, where is the entrance? She asked. Here. Ding Wu Gu pointed at the center of the countless runes. Everyone looked at Ding Wu Gu in confusion. I can't be wrong. I can feel it. It's right here. In Feng Shui, it's called a seamless entrance. It needs to be opened with the blood of a Feng Shui master. As he spoke, Ding Wu Gu bit his finger and blood flowed out. He walked to the center and dripped his blood onto a rune in the center. The room suddenly emitted a dazzling golden light, and then a large amount of fog gushed out. Rumble. A crack suddenly appeared in the fog. It was just like the crack in the feng shui array. The interior of the crack was pitch black. It's here. Go in from here. Ding Wugu said excitedly. Then let's go in. Yang Zigu nodded. Let's wait for Yan Chuan. Mou Shi frowned. Yan Chuan's army was halfway up the mountain. Why should we wait for them? They're a bunch of burdens. Ding Wugu said angrily. They'll be here soon. Mr. Monroe advised. If you want to wait, then wait. I'm going in first. Ding Wugu said unhappily. Ding Wugu stepped into the crack. Everyone looked at Ding Wugu with unpleasant expressions. Clearly they were unhappy with Ding Wugu's decision. Save me. Ding Wugu's scream suddenly came from inside. Oh no. Mr. Monroe's expression changed. They rushed in. Chapter 67. Isn't this the entrance? What's going on? What should we do? Yang Zigu panicked. With Mr. Monroe's help, Ding Wugu will be fine. Mou Shi comforted him. After that, Mou Shi looked down at Yan Chuan and the others. Her face was slightly gloomy. She seemed to have guessed something. Boom. At the entrance, a white light shot up into the sky, instantly illuminating the surroundings. The entire tomb shook violently. Yan Chuan, who was halfway up the mountain, paused for a moment. He looked at the top of the mountain and pondered. What a strong aura of righteousness. This Mr. Monroe seems to be hiding his strength. Boom. Mr. Monroe came out with Ding Wugu in his hands. Mr. Monroe's clothes were slightly damaged. Ding Wugu's body was full of bloody holes. His clothes were dyed red with blood. In the big bloody holes one could even see the white bones. His left eye was badly mutilated and he was dying. Ding Wugu, how are you? Yang Zigu's face changed. He quickly took out a pill and fed it to Ding Wugu. As soon as the pill entered his stomach, his body emitted waves of green light. The bloody holes on his body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, his left eye could not be healed. It was left with a hideous bloody hole. Chickens, chickens, so many chickens. They pecked me. Ding Wugu said with lingering fear. Mr. Monroe's face darkened. Mr. Monroe, what happened just now? Mou Shi asked solemnly. Mou Shi knew Mr. Monroe's strength. For such a powerful person to come out in such a sorry state, it was clear that the inside was dangerous. This is not the entrance, Mr. Monroe said simply. At this moment, Yan Chuan's army finally reached the top of the mountain. Looking at Ding Wugu, who was full of bloody holes, Yan Chuan sighed. Was a pity? Ding Wugu, didn't you say this is the entrance? Yang Zigu shouted. I just have a feeling. I know. Must be that dog. He did it on purpose. He wants to harm me, he wants to harm me. Ding Wugu cried out. It's you, Yan Chuan. You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? You want to kill me? Ding Wugu roared at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan, did you do this on purpose? Yang Zigu also looked at Yan Chuan coldly. Mou Shi once again examined Yan Chuan. Hearing everyone's questions, the Silver Armor army was in an uproar. All of them looked at Yan Chuan with gratitude. It was this dwarf who had used the poisonous fog to kill two of his brothers. If it was really the Lord's doing, then it was to avenge their dead brothers. Unfortunately, the dwarf didn't die. On purpose? What a joke. How did I do it on purpose? You found the entrance yourself. What does the danger inside have to do with me? Yan Chuan said disdainfully. Must be you. Must be you. Ding Wugu roared hatefully. Yan Chuan smiled disdainfully. Enough. Mou Shi shouted coldly. She stopped Ding Wugu. She turned to Yan Chuan and said, Prince Yan, I don't care if you did it on purpose or not. I don't want to pursue the matter. I just want to know how to enter the inner formation. The entrance is at the top of these 8 tombs. However, there is only one entrance. You need the special physique of a feng shui master to find it. Yan Chuan nodded. I won't believe you. I won't believe you. Ding Wugu said hatefully. I didn't ask you to believe me. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Ding Wugu's face immediately turned red. He stared hatefully at Yan Chuan. Mr. Wenrua smiled bitterly with a complicated expression. Mr. Monroe was sure that Yan Chuan was the one who set Ding Wugu up. Chapter 68. It was a pity that Ding Wugu had been ruthless and domineering all his life. Now he finally got his comeuppance for provoking Yan Chuan. When we entered just now, there were countless roosters. It must be the grave of the Sun position. Since we've already entered the Kuan position, we must enter the Kuan position as well. This is the Sun position. The Kuan position is above that giant grave. That should be the entrance, right? Mr. Monroe looked at Yen Chuan and smiled. Hearing Mr. Monroe's analysis, Yen Chuan's eyes flashed with admiration. Let's give it a try then. Everyone walked towards the giant grave in the koan position. Although there were powerful attacks from the rabbit demons, Qinglong and the other three managed to block them. They reached the top of the giant grave in the koan position. Under Mr. Monroe's request, Ding Wugu opened another entrance. However, Ding Wugu hid far away. He almost died just now. How would he dare to go forward now? Prince Yen, is it this one? Amoyushi asked. I'm not sure. Yen Chuan shook his head. Then send a team in to take a look, Yang Zigu said calmly. The faces of the soldiers immediately darkened as they looked at Yang Zhijio. Sending a group of people to their deaths? Yeah, you have so many people anyway. You have to send people in. Ding Wugu covered his blind eyes and said resentfully. Prince Yen, this entrance was opened by Ding Wugu. Do you think you should send a team in to take a look? Amoyushi asked. All the cultivators closed in on Yen Chuan. All the soldiers clenched their fists and looked at the crowd coldly. Yen Chuan smiled and said, Since you don't dare to, let me go first. Everyone follow me. Yen Chuan said calmly. Yes. All the soldiers replied. At this moment, Yen Chuan had completely won the hearts of the 3,000 soldiers. Even if they had to die with him, the soldiers would not hesitate. Yen Chuan walked at the front. The 3,000 soldiers quickly went in. Ding Wugu, Yang Zigu, and the others all frowned as they watched. They went in. Ding Wugu was still in disbelief. Mr. Monroe stepped in. Yang Zigu followed closely behind Mr. Monroe. Qinglong, you four can come back now. After speaking, Amoyushi also went in. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Azure Dragon and the others quickly flew back. Ding Wugu had a complicated expression on his face as he walked in. Without the resistance of the four great powerhouses, the Yellow Springs Rabbit Devil's gaze landed on Ding Wugu. Ding Wugu stepped into it. The moment Ding Wugu stepped in, the entrance suddenly disappeared. A huge Wugu. Even though there were 3,000 soldiers in their way, it was still a place. When Yen Chuan and the others stepped into the entrance, they appeared here. However, the entrance from before had mysteriously disappeared. Lord, the entrance is gone. Huoguang said worriedly. We're about to enter the inner formation. This feng shui formation only allows entry, not exit. Yen Chuan frowned. Everyone looked around. There were two large doors. The words Yin and Yang were written on each door. Lord, there are two doors here. Shall we go in and take a look? Huoguang immediately called out. With a wave of his hand, Yen Chuan stopped Huoguang. He narrowed his eyes and said, This is a dead-end formation. It's easy to enter but difficult to leave. If you go in, you'll find that the door you just entered has disappeared again. Huoguang immediately stopped talking. Then how do we go in? Amoyushi looked at Yen Chuan. Only one of the two doors leads to the inner formation. The other door should be a cage. Once we enter, we'll be trapped inside. Unless the feng shui formation is completely broken, Yen Chuan said in a low voice. Chapter 69. Then which door leads to the inner array? Amoyushi asked. Yen Chuan shook his head and sighed. I've only heard of this type of feng shui array, but I've never experienced how to break it. At this moment, Ding Wugu gave Yang Zigu a look. Then he gestured in a direction. Yang Zigu's expression changed. He immediately understood Ding Wugu's meaning, and a hint of excitement flashed in his eyes. Since you don't know which door, let's split up. You go through the Yin door and I'll go through the Yang door. Yang Zigu said. Amoyushi frowned slightly. Prince Yen, you really can't tell? Amoyushi looked at Yen Chuan again. No? Yen Chuan shook his head. Ding Wugu, what about you? Amoyushi looked at Ding Wugu. Ding Wugu's eyes flashed with hatred again. Amoyushi actually asked Yen Chuan first and then asked him. Was he really not as good as him? I can't tell. Ding Wugu shook his head. What about Mr. Monroe? Amoyushi looked at Mr. Monroe. Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly and shook his head. All right, Rosefench Xuanwu? Yes, sir. The two subordinates immediately responded. You two are responsible for protecting Yang Gongzi. Amoyushi ordered. Yes, sir. The two immediately responded. Qinglong, White Tiger and Prince Yen, come with me. Amoyushi said. Okay. Yen Chuan nodded. What about the army? Ding Wugu looked at the 3,000 soldiers. A cold smile appeared on his face. Wherever I go, they will naturally follow. Yen Chuan said in a low voice. The 3,000 soldiers could not be split up. If they went to Ding Wugu's side, that would be sending them to their deaths. All right, cut the crap. Mr. Monroe is as talented as 100,000 soldiers. Mr. Monroe is with you. Mou, she said with a frown. Yes. Ding Wugu said solemnly. They split into two groups. Yan Chuan's army Mou Shi Qinglong and White Tiger entered the Yin Gate. Mr. Monroe, Yang Zigu, Ding Wugu, Rosefinch and Xuanwu entered the Yang Gate. Boom. The door opened and everyone entered one after another. Yan Chuan's group soon appeared in an even larger hall. Lord, the door behind us has disappeared again? Huo Guang gulped. It was an even bigger hall. The hall was dark, but he could vaguely see the silhouettes in the distance. Qinglong waved his hand, and a green light illuminated the entire hall. There's no exit. Qinglong's expression changed. This is a sealed hall? White Tiger's expression also darkened. This can't be. Mou Shi's expression darkened, and she turned to look at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan nodded lightly. No wonder they suggested to go through the Yang Gate. Ding Wugu must have sensed the entrance. Did he collude with Yang Zigu? Ding Wugu. Dwarfs. Damn it. Mou Shi immediately guessed everything and she was extremely angry. Oh, what's that? A young soldier suddenly exclaimed. Everyone looked over. It was a green stone wall and the wall was extremely smooth. However, on this smooth wall, a human face slowly and strangely appeared. It was a human face with a pained expression. Oh. Eerie cries could be heard from the hall. Everyone's scalps went numb. However, this was just the beginning. 2 more human faces appeared next to that human face. 4 more, 8 and 80 more faces appeared. On the wall, human faces suddenly appeared one after another. Their expressions were different, but they were all crying in pain. In the blink of an eye, there were almost 10,000 human faces on the wall of the hall. The human faces were crying and it was heart-wrenching. Everyone felt as if they were in hell and they were filled with endless sorrow. Chapter 70. In the blink of an eye, there were close to 10,000 faces on the walls of the hall. Everyone felt as if they were in the underworld, filled with endless sorrow. Wong. Woo woo woo. Ah. NNNN. As soon as nearly 10,000 cries rang out, it immediately became extremely noisy and rushed straight to one's heart. Their emotions were infected and fragmented. Her sorrowful cries were filled with a myriad of different kinds of desolation, causing one's heart and mind to be stirred up. Some of the silver-armored soldiers immediately felt dizzy and swayed. Yan Chuan immediately realized that something was wrong with the silver armor army. Immovable mountain, solitary cobalt seal. Yan Chuan shouted. This shout contained a trace of the will of an emperor, and it suppressed the thousands of cries. The 3,000 soldiers suddenly woke up from the inexplicable sadness and quickly formed hand seals. As he silently recited the mantra, it was as if a ripple had spread out from the bottom of his heart. Instantly, all of his sadness and agitation were eliminated. Who? Long cries of lingering fear could be heard from the 3,000 soldiers. When they looked at the bitter faces on the wall again, they were all frightened. At the same time, they didn't dare to relax their hand seals in the slightest. Lord? Lu Jin looked at Yan Chuan worriedly. Yan Chuan gently shook his head, indicating that he would talk about it later. Qinglong's seal. Break. Qinglong shouted loudly. He formed a hand seal with his hand, and a green light emerged from the hand seal. It looked like a dragon, but it was not a dragon. He slammed into the wall. Boom. The Qinglong seal smashed into the wall and violently attacked. Immediately, a gust of wind blew, violently blowing past the 3,000 soldiers. Ta. Ta. The soldiers were pushed back by this powerful aura. How could this be? Qinglong, who was not far away, exclaimed. Everyone looked over. On the wall, there was only a hole with a radius of 1 zhang and a thickness of half a zhang. The powerful azure dragon seal had only caused such a small amount of damage? Not only that, the damaged wall was strangely recovering, and the hole was automatically filling up. Furthermore, the destroyed bitter face was strangely recovering as well. Big brother, your Qinglong seal can only cause so little damage? Moreover, the wall could recover automatically? Then when can it be broken? The White Tiger said with an ugly expression. Prince Yan? Mou Shi looked anxiously at Yan Chuan. Taking a deep breath, Yan Chuan shook his head and said, This cage has the support of the Earth Dragon vein. You can't open it. At the very least, I can't open it now. Prince Yan, you know this formation well, but how do you get out? I want to get out, I must get out. Mou Shi said anxiously. The feng shui master who set up this formation must have caught a nightmare demon from the netherworld. There's a nightmare demon hiding among the 34,000 bitter faces. Find the incubus and kill it. Yan Chuan did not hide anything. Then I'll destroy them one by one. 103,000 bitter faces? We'll destroy them all. Mou, she said firmly. Shaking his head, Yan Chuan smiled bitterly and said, the nightmare demon doesn't stay in a single bitter face. It can reside in any bitter face. You destroyed a bitter face, but it will soon recover because of the earth dragon vein. The nightmare demon will then be able to reside in the bitter face you eliminated. Prince Yan, I have my own difficulties. I must obtain the thing inside. Please help me break this cage. After this, I will reward you generously. Mou, she said anxiously. Shaking his head, Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. I'm telling the truth. I've never experienced this array before. I've only heard about it from others. It's impossible to break it. The only way is to wait for the incubus to find you and use that opportunity to find it. Chapter 71. Will it look for us? Mou, she's eyes lit up. That's right, a nightmare. It can enter a person's dream and wantonly mess up the dream, creating fear and sadness. It feeds on the power of the wandering souls. I will let my officers and soldiers take turns to enter the land of dreams and do their best to search for the nightmare demon. As for you, Qinglong and White Tiger, it's best that you don't fall asleep. Yan Chuan thought for a moment and said, Why? Mou, she asked curiously. Because your cultivation is too high. Yan Chuan said solemnly. You're worried that we'll be taken advantage of by the nightmare? Are you doubting our willpower? Mou, she said in a low voice. Yan Chuan smiled, shook his head and said nothing more. He turned around and looked at Huo Guang. Set up camp. Yes. Huo Guang quickly ordered the soldiers to put down the things they were carrying. Some of the soldiers carried the tents and quickly set them up. When they couldn't take it anymore, they would use the Akalanatha seal. When they calmed down, they would continue working. Mou, she anxiously walked towards the wall and carefully looked at the bitter face on the wall, her eyes filled with anxiety. Qinglong, continue to destroy bitter face for me. Focus on bitter face and attack. Mou, she said in a low voice. Yes. Qinglong replied. Boom, boom, boom. Rumbling sounds came from the surrounding walls as Qinglong continuously destroyed the bitter face. However, the bitter face quickly recovered. On the other side, Yan Chuan's headquarters tent had already been set up. Yan Chuan ignored the outside world and led Huo Guang and Lu Jin inside. Lord, are we going to be trapped here forever? Lu Jin asked worriedly. Yan Chuan nodded. I know what you're worried about. How much food do we have now? If the soldiers don't train with meat, the meat and water that we have with us can only last for about 10 days. Lu Jin said immediately. Then don't practice. For the next few days, pay attention when you are sleeping. Make sure that there is someone watching over everyone when they are sleeping. If someone has a nightmare, quickly use your inner energy to attack their glabella and wake them up. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes. Also, when you wake up from the nightmare, try to remember where the nightmare went when the dream disappeared. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Follow the direction he's pointing and shoot at the bitter face on the wall. Yes. Bring me my clothes. I want to change out of these bloody clothes. Yan Chuan ordered Lu Jin. 2 days later. Saintess, we've destroyed all the bitter faces, but we still haven't found the nightmare. Qinglong said with an ugly expression. I was too arrogant in the past. Mou, she smiled bitterly. Saintess, we don't practice feng shui. Saintess doesn't know feng shui, so don't belittle yourself. If you practice feng shui, even 10 feng shui masters can't compare to Saintess. White Tiger comforted. I know. Mou, she said helplessly. Qinglong, you've been fighting nonstop for the past 2 days. I think you must be tired. Rest with White Tiger. Mou, she looked at Qinglong. Yes. Qinglong and White Tiger rested at the side. Mou, she looked at the 3,000 soldiers. Most of the 3,000 soldiers were practicing military formations. Brothers, if you can't practice for the past few days, then practice this military formation. This is that fierce tiger formation that the Lord taught us. I'm sure everyone knows how powerful the Lord's teachings are. The Lord wants to lead us to a path to heaven. Do you want to walk with your heart? Huo Guang shouted. Yes. The soldiers shouted excitedly. Chapter 72. All of the soldiers understood what Yan Chuan meant. He wanted to lead the 3,000 soldiers on the path of cultivation. At this moment, all of them revealed looks of joy and appreciation. Good, then continue to practice. Huo Guang shouted. Yes. The morale of the soldiers was high. They practiced a set of formations that did not seem very profound, but the soldiers were extremely enthusiastic. Moushi looked at this scene strangely. Ferocious tiger army formation? Then Moushi looked towards the central tent. Moushi was silent for a while. After a while she took a deep breath and walked towards the central tent. Inside the central tent. Lord, no one has had nightmares these 2 days. Lu Jin said respectfully. This incubus is really cunning? Yen Chuan said solemnly. Lord, Miss Mo requests an audience. A soldier reported from outside the tent. Oh, let her in. Yen Chuan said in surprise. Yes. Very quickly Moushi stepped into the tent. Prince Yen? Moushi smiled. Miss Mo? Yen Chuan looked at Moushi. Can I talk to you alone? Moushi's expression became serious. Lu Jin, you can leave first. Yen Chuan turned and said. Yes. Lu Jin respectfully left the tent. Miss Mo, please? Yen Chuan invited Moushi to sit at a table. Moushi nodded. There was a pot of tea on the table. Yen Chuan poured 2 cups. It's just some tea, please forgive me. Yen Chuan handed over a cup of tea. It's already very good. Moushi gladly accepted it. Miss Mo, what do you want to discuss? Yen Chuan looked towards Moushi. Moushi looked outside the tent and frowned slightly. I've observed the 3,000 soldiers outside. You're looking for meat for them, teaching them seals and military formations. Are you trying to lead them onto the path of cultivation? Why not? Yen Chuan smiled. Many cultivators can't even gather enough resources for their own cultivation, and you want to bring 3,000 burdens with you? That's an incalculable amount of resources. Do you have that much? As far as I know, you have nothing, right? Moreover, even if we spend a lot of resources to help them reach the elite realm, so what? Their strength will still be at the bottom. To high-level cultivators, it's nothing. Just like your 3,000 soldiers, they can't compare to one Qinglong. Instead of splitting the resources and creating a bunch of burdens, why not gather the resources and create a few strong followers? Moushi asked curiously. Yen Chuan looked at Moushi and smiled. 3,000 soldiers? Was that a lot? In Yen Chuan's eyes it was not a lot. Moushi could not see Yen Chuan's grand ambitions now. 3,000 low-level cultivators? Yen Chuan had great uses for them. Resources? With an army in hand, why worry about not having enough resources? This is my family's matter. Miss Mo, you shouldn't worry too much. Yen Chuan said lightly. Moushi did not know whether to laugh or cry. She tried to persuade him out of goodwill, but this was the reply she got. After drinking a mouthful of tea, Moushi's expression became serious. She thought for a while. Yen Chuan waited quietly. Prince Yen, do you really have no way to break this cage? Moushi's eyes showed a trace of desire. Yen Chuan shook his head. I didn't hide this from you. Moushi smiled bitterly and said slowly, I know that it was wrong of us to let you be our guide. I really wanted to get the item in the formation too much. I'm really sorry about what happened before. Please forgive me. Yen Chuan could hear the sincerity in Moushi's words. Moushi's attitude seemed to have changed slightly in this adversity. She was no longer as high and mighty as before. Chapter 73. Her change in attitude and humility made Yen Chuan feel a lot better. Yen Chuan smiled in satisfaction. Since we've talked about it, I don't want to hide it from you anymore. There's a myriad wonders demonic lotus sealed in this feng shui formation. The objective of our trip is that myriad wonders demonic lotus. Moushi explained. Myriad wonders demonic lotus? Yen Chuan raised an eyebrow. What? You've heard of it? Moushi asked in surprise. I've heard of the myriad wonders demonic lotus. It's an extremely evil item that contain even immortals. The myriad wonders demonic lotus is sealed in this formation. No wonder it needs so many dragon veins to seal it. Yen Chuan said in thought. Myriad wonders demonic lotus? Yushi has never heard of it. I only learned about it not long ago. Moushi looked at Yen Chuan strangely. One had to know that Moushi had a high status. She could read all kinds of books in her sect, but she had never seen anything like the 10,000 Wonders Demonic Lotus or the 1,000 Wonders Demonic Lotus. She had only heard about it from someone with a high status not long ago. However, Yen Chuan was only 17 or 18 years old, right? How did he know about the Myriad Wonders Demonic Lotus? I only learned about it by chance. Yen Chuan smiled but didn't explain. Moushi didn't ask any more questions. I don't know what the Myriad Wonders Demonic Lotus can do and I don't want to know. I just want it. It's very important to me. Prince Yen, please help me. Mou, she pleaded. Yan Chuan frowned. Prince Yan is very knowledgeable. I'm sure you've guessed my identity from Mr. Monroe and the others' conversation, right? Mou, she smiled wryly. They call you Saintess. Yan Chuan nodded. I'm the Holy Lady of the Great Revelation Sacred Ground. My father fought for this title for me when he was still alive. He was once a Tao Lord of the Great Revelation Sacred Ground. Unfortunately, he was killed by a scoundrel. Mou, she bit her lips as she recalled, her eyes slightly moist. It was clear that her father's death had a great impact on Mou. Back then, when I was 16, I suddenly heard that my father had passed away. I thought that the sky had collapsed. In the past, I was the most mischievous saintess of the Great Revelation Holy Ground. When my father was alive, I could laugh and cry loudly. I could cause trouble for no reason. I could tease everyone. When my father passed away, I was sad and could only hide in the corner of the room and cry secretly. I didn't dare to cry in front of others. I didn't dare to laugh out loud because I knew that many people were waiting for me to make a fool of myself. In the past, I was suppressed by my father. After my father died, they would definitely take revenge on me. I can only be careful and use my identity as the saintess to constantly protect myself. I won't let myself be hurt and lose face for my father. Hearing Mou's narration, Yan Chuan was also slightly moved. Sacred ground? That was a huge sect. The internal relationships would definitely be complicated. One could imagine how a 16-year-old girl had slowly persevered after losing her father. Using a silk handkerchief to wipe her tears, Mou, she forced a smile and said, "Every time I mention my father, it's as if he's still alive. I said I wouldn't mention my father. Sorry, I forgot myself." It's nothing. Miss Mo is still a sentimental person. Yan Chuan consoled. Gently shaking her head, Mou, she smiled bitterly and said, "Sentimental person? Ha, I also wish that I didn't want to be the saintess. That way I could laugh and cry without restraint. But I can't do it. I can no longer remove the identity of the saintess. The identity of the saintess is the best protection. Once you're no longer the saintess, your father's old enemies will definitely surround and kill you." Yan Chuan nodded. When I was 20, Mohina Dojin, who is Yang Ziga's father, killed the people who killed my father. He defended the dignity of the Dazhao sacred ground and also avenged my father. I owe him this favor. Mou, she said with a frown. You want to obtain the 10,000 wonders bewitching lotus just to return this favor? Yan Chuan asked doubtfully. Yes, the Dazhao sacred ground has complicated internal relationships. Mohina Dojin Mou's eyes revealed a trace of fear. Mohina Dojin can't come here. He really wants this 10,000 wonders bewitching lotus. I must use this opportunity to return this favor. If I don't return it now, it might be 100 times, 1,000 times in the future. It might even ruin my life. I don't want to drag this out any longer. Prince Yan, please help me. Mou, she looked at Yan Chuan with great sincerity. Looking at Mou's pitiful expression, Yan Chuan's eyes gradually softened. Lord. Lu Jin's voice came from outside the tent, interrupting their thoughts. Come in. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Lu Jin quickly entered and looked at Mou with a strange expression. What's the matter? Yan Chuan asked doubtfully. Lord Qing Long and White Tiger are fighting. Lu Jin said with a puzzled expression. What? Impossible. Mou immediately stood up. Chapter 74. Lord, that Qing Long and White Tiger are fighting? Lu Jin said in confusion. What? Impossible. Mou immediately stood up. Mou wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and rushed out. Yan Chuan looked at Lu Jin strangely. Yan Chuan also remembered that Qing Long and White Tiger were close brothers. Fighting? Lu Jin nodded affirmatively. Let's go. Yan Chuan stepped out of the tent. The moment he stepped out of the tent, a strong gust of wind blew past. Yan Chuan's clothes fluttered in the wind. 3,000 soldiers stood guard outside the tent, led by Hua Guang. His spear was pointed in a direction far away. The gust of wind blew against everyone's armor, making clang-clang sounds. Mou stood at the front, looking into the distance with a serious expression. Yan Chuan stepped forward and also looked into the distance. In the distance, where the gust of wind came from, White Tiger and Qing Long were confronting each other. Both of them struck out with their palms, pushing each other back and forth. White Tiger's back was facing everyone. They could vaguely see Qing Long's face. Qing Long's face was ferocious, revealing a strong evil intent. Big brother, what are you doing? What's wrong? White Tiger asked anxiously. Get lost. Qing Long scolded angrily. Your Highness, it's over there. For some reason, the White Tiger and the Azure Dragon suddenly started fighting. Hua Guang immediately came forward to report. Something's not right. Yan Chuan's expression froze. At the same time, Mo Yushi squinted her eyes. Essence Chi clone? What is Qing Long trying to do? Mo Yushi asked seriously. Qing Long's body was emitting a large amount of violent green smoke. Behind Qing Long in the corner, there was a vague figure sitting. I see it. Why is there another person? Lu Jin was shocked. No, that's Qing Long. The one sitting in the corner is Qing Long, but the one fighting White Tiger is also Qing Long. Why are there two Qing Longs? Hua Guang immediately shouted. Lord? Lu Jin looked at Yan. It's Qing Long. The one sleeping in the corner is Qing Long's real body. The one fighting White Tiger is only Qing Long's Essence Chi clone. Yan Chuan explained. Lord, what's an Essence Chi clone? Hua Guang was puzzled. Your cultivation is not high enough now. When you cultivate Qi into spirit, you can use your Essence Qi and will to form a clone. You can defend against external enemies for a short time, Yan Chuan explained. Ah, clone? Hua Guang's eyes flashed with excitement. The world of practitioners was indeed very exciting. Hua Guang's eyes were full of yearning. However, Qing Long's current state is different. His Essence Qi clone is being controlled. Yan Chuan's eyes turned cold. You're being controlled? Mo Yushi immediately turned her head. The incubus you've been looking for finally couldn't wait any longer. He found Qing Long. Yan Chuan narrowed his eyes. Incubus? Mo Yushi's eyes lit up. Qing Long must have fallen asleep just now. The incubus took advantage of the situation and created a terrifying dreamland for Qing Long. At the same time, he tricked Qing Long into using his Essence Qi to form an Essence Qi clone. He controlled the Essence Qi clone. Yan Chuan said with certainty. Prince Yan, the incubus appeared. Can we? Mo Yushi suddenly looked at Yan Chuan with joy. Yes, it depends on Qing Long. If he can wake up from the dream with his ability, he should be able to destroy the incubus. However, he can't realize that he's dreaming. It's too difficult. Yan Chuan said worriedly. You're not Big Brother? White Tiger Palm pushed Qing Long's Essence Qi clone. Chapter 75. Ha ha ha. Qing Long's doppelganger laughed, his eyes filled with madness. However, the two of them did not fight with all their might. White Tiger was fighting because of their brotherhood, but Qing Long seemed to be waiting for something. What's behind us? Lu Jin exclaimed. In the corner of the room, the sleeping Azure Dragon's body suddenly emitted waves of azure light. Large amounts of green aura came out of his pores. The green aura gradually condensed into a human figure. The form of the aura became clearer and clearer. It was another Qing Long's doppelganger, an aura doppelganger. As for the sleeping Qing Long's body, after the aura leaked out of his pores, his face turned pale. He even seemed to have withered. However, even so, he did not wake up. The nightmare wants to suck out all of Qing Long's aura? Mo Yushi's face darkened. Big Brother? White Tiger's face changed as he shouted. Ha ha ha. Number One's doppelganger, who was pushing White Tiger, laughed. Open? Number One's doppelganger suddenly exerted force. Boom. A powerful aura surged out, and under the tremendous force, the White Tiger was knocked away. The powerful aura formed waves of air that blew towards the 3,000 silver armor guards. Number One's doppelganger knocked White Tiger away and punched out. His fist shone with green light, and a 10-foot fist aura smashed towards White Tiger. It was unstoppable. Roar. White Tiger's face changed and he also punched out. Boom. The two of them collided head-on, instantly forming a ferocious shockwave. Big Brother, wake up? White Tiger Jiaohu said. With me here, no one can wake him up. Ah. Number One's doppelganger laughed and stood in front of White Tiger. Number One's doppelganger fought White Tiger. A large amount of wind blew out from their battle and waves of air raged. The newly born second doppelganger of Qing Long looked in Yan Chuan's direction with a sinister smile. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Number Two's doppelganger left behind an afterimage and appeared not far away from them. Not good. Mo Yushi's expression changed as she stepped forward. With a flip of her hand, a folding fan appeared in Mo Yushi's palm. As he activated it, a white light suddenly gushed out from the folding fan and crashed toward Qing Long's second clone. Boom. Doppelganger number 2 retreated and Mo Yushi's fan was also knocked back. White Tiger, capture Qing Long's clone. Mo Yushi's eyes turned cold as she shouted. Yes. The white tiger shouted from afar. Capture? Why don't you think about yourselves instead? The second doppelganger stood in front of Mouxia and laughed. As he spoke, the second doppelganger's aura flared up, and a strong wind blew. It was like the source of a storm, spewing out endless wind power. Ta-ta-ta-ta. The powerful storm forced the 3,000 soldiers to retreat. Mouxia turned to look at the 3,000 soldiers who were staggering, and her expression changed. Incubus, get out of Qinglong's body. Mouxia swung her folding fan again. The folding fan expanded to 10 feet in size and smashed down with a loud bang. White light shot out in all directions. Boom, boom, boom. The ground rumbled. Mouxia was taking care of the 3,000 soldiers. She quickly lured doppelganger number 2 away and away from the 3,000 soldiers. Young Master Yen, I'll have to trouble you to wake up Qinglong. Mouxia called out from afar. With these ants? Ah. Doppelganger number 2 said disdainfully. Mohilan. Mouxia shouted. Break for me. Doppelganger number 2 shot out endless green light again. Lord, Qinglong's doppelganger is stronger than Lady Mo and White Tiger? Huo Guang said in surprise. Chapter 76. Yen Chuan shook his head. No, Qinglong's doppelganger was controlled by the incubus. The incubus didn't care about the consequences, while White Tiger and Miss Mo didn't want to destroy Qinglong's doppelganger. They only wanted to capture it. One didn't care about the consequences, while the other cared too much about the consequences. Thus, the current situation was created. Then what should we do? Should we wake Qinglong up? Huo Guang asked anxiously. Yes, this incubus isn't simple. He actually controlled 2 Qinglong's doppelganger consecutively. This means that Qinglong isn't a match for the incubus in the dream realm. He won't be able to wake up on his own. Yen Chuan said with certainty. As they spoke, everyone looked at Qinglong's main body in the corner again. On Qinglong's main body, wisps of green qi were slowly seeping out of his pores. Not good, his qi is leaking again. Lord, he's going to form a third qi doppelganger? Lu Jin's expression changed. Let's go. Yen Chuan said with a serious expression. Braving the wind, Yen Chuan took the lead and walked towards Qinglong in the distance. The 3,000 soldiers followed closely behind him. The wind was biting cold, but the 3,000 soldiers formed a human wall and walked forward with difficulty. At this moment, the green qi coming out of Qinglong's pores had already enveloped Qinglong. It seemed to have formed a large cover around Qinglong's body. Break! Yen Chuan shouted. Yes. Huo Guang replied. Huo Guang stretched out his hand. Silver light shot out from his fist. It smashed towards the qi cover with a loud bang. Boom! Huo Guang was sent flying by the recoil. My lord. The soldiers quickly caught Huo Guang, who was sent flying back. However, the qi cover didn't tremble at all. In the distance, White Tiger and Mouxia were also paying attention. Seeing that Huo Guang couldn't even move the slightest bit of his spiritual essence, his face immediately changed. Ha ha ha, a bunch of ants overestimating themselves. When the third doppelganger comes out, none of those ants will be able to live. The 2 essence qi doppelganger laughed out loud. Mouxia's face turned cold. At the same time, Mouxia's pores also slowly opened, and wisps of white essence leaked out. You want to create a clone too? Don't even think about it. Qinglong's doppelganger's expression immediately changed. The aura around his body was pushed to its peak, as if he didn't care about the leakage of his essence qi. He charged towards Mouxia, immediately stopping Mouxia's doppelganger. On the other side, the battle between White Tiger and Qinglong's doppelganger number 1 was also getting more and more intense. At a corner. Those at LV6 of the Power Realm, attack. Huo Guang shouted. Yes, sir. The group of young generals answered loudly. The space wasn't big, so only 8 people could attack at the same time at most. Huo Guang and the 7 young generals punched the essence qi shield at the same time. Boom. The 8 of them were sent flying again, but the essence qi shield only trembled a little. More and more essence qi leaked out, and Qinglong's face was close to turning gray. The essence qi was even slowly condensing into a human shape. Lord, the third doppelganger is about to form. What should we do? Huo Guang said with a pale face. Once the third doppelganger is formed, we'll be the first to bear the brunt of it? Lu Jin was also extremely worried. Once the third doppelganger was formed, it would be able to attack on its own. Who would be a match for it then? Maybe it could destroy 3,000 soldiers with a flip of its hand. Lu Jin couldn't help but worry. I'll do it. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. As he spoke, Yan Chuan took a step forward. At this moment, the new essence chi was becoming more and more concrete, and the outline of a human was gradually forming. "Ants, I'll destroy you all right now." The blurry essence chi doppelganger sneered. Chapter 77. A powerful aura pressed down on everyone. It made everyone feel as if they couldn't resist it. Dang! Dang! The sound of spears stabbing into the ground could be heard. The 3,000 soldiers were trying their best to resist the powerful aura, trying their best not to be pushed down. Facing such a powerful aura, Yan Chuan didn't seem to be affected. When he took a step forward, Yan Chuan opened his eyes wide. Yan Chuan's emperor's will from his previous life burst out through his eyes. Boom! The emperor's will was like the heavens. Ong! Vaguely, a dragon's roar could be heard. The dragon's roar was loud and resonant. The blurry doppelganger suddenly seemed to see a golden dragon head that was 30 meters long. The dragon's horns were lofty, its eyes were furious, its whiskers were majestic, and its mouth was vast. Ong! The golden dragon followed Yan Chuan's will and let out a furious roar. The huge dragon roar caused the vague clone to tremble violently. How? The vague clone's voice seemed to be stuck in his throat. Under the huge dragon's aura, he couldn't say anything. Ong? The dragon roar was long. As long as Yan Chuan didn't withdraw his will, it would continue to suppress the vague clone. The vague clone trembled more and more violently. Yan Chuan's will seemed to want to completely disperse the vague clone. How is this possible? The first clone who was fighting with the white tiger suddenly turned around. The second clone who was fighting with Wuxia also turned around and looked at Yan Chuan in shock. Mortal, he's just a mortal? The second clone said in disbelief. The second clone stepped forward and was about to rush towards Yan Chuan. Who? A figure suddenly blocked in front of him. It was Wuxia. Leave? You won't be able to leave. Wuxia sneered. While blocking the second clone, Wuxia also glanced at Yan Chuan. Her eyes flashed with surprise. Although she didn't know what the vague clone saw, Wuxia understood that it was definitely a willpower attack. Yan Chuan's willpower? Why was Yan Chuan's willpower so strong? It was actually able to suppress the vague clone. Yan Chuan's image in Wuxia's mind became more and more vague. Just how capable was he? On the other side, the white tiger was also surprised, but it also quickly stopped the first clone. He waited for Yan Chuan to wake Azure Dragon up. The viciousness in Yan Chuan's eyes grew heavier and heavier. At the same time, the impact of his willpower grew stronger and stronger as it ruthlessly suppressed the blurry doppelganger. Boom! Bastard! The vague clone dispersed. It finally couldn't withstand the impact and was dispersed by Yan Chuan's willpower. However, Yan Chuan's willpower attack didn't stop. Instead, he stared at the green essence and his eyes became sharper. He took a step forward and with a great majesty, he used his willpower to force the green essence back into Qinglong's pores and back into Qinglong's body. In the distance, Wuxia and the white tiger instantly revealed a grateful expression. The essence that leaked out could be retrieved. However, if Yan Chuan didn't do anything now, the essence would disperse and Qinglong's vitality would be greatly damaged. Now that it was forced back into his body, even if he was still injured, his vitality wouldn't be damaged. As long as he recuperated, he would be able to recover. With every step that Yan Chuan took, a portion of the essence would be forced back into Qinglong's body. With every step that he took, the essence in the outside world became less and less. When the 3,000 soldiers saw Yan Chuan force back the essence, their faces all flushed red and their hearts surged with admiration. Yan Chuan finally walked in front of Qinglong facing the sleeping Qinglong. Yan Chuan's finger flickered with golden light and pointed at Qinglong's forehead. Wake up! Yan Chuan shouted. Chapter 78. Wake up! Yan Chuan shouted. Boom! Qinglong shuddered. Phew! As soon as he opened his eyes, Qinglong shuddered and immediately met Yan Chuan's eyes and Yan Chuan's will. Yan Chuan's will was a dragon-shaped emperor's will. The moment he opened his eyes, Qinglong immediately saw a huge golden dragon. Towering and angry, it looked down on all living things. Hiss! Qinglong took a deep breath and his eyes shone brightly. Then he was stunned. Phew! Yan Chuan let out a long sigh. The light in his eyes returned to normal and he retracted his will. His face instantly turned pale. Thump thump. Yan Chuan took 2 steps back as if he couldn't stand properly. Lord! Lu Jin and the others quickly rushed forward. Now that the Azure Dragon had awakened, the powerful pressure had also disappeared. The 3,000 soldiers immediately felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off their shoulders. I'm fine. Yan Chuan shook his head and smiled bitterly. At this moment, Yan Chuan's face was ghastly pale as if he was about to collapse. A bitter smile appeared on his face as he said, "Most experts' willpower can't keep up with their bodies. However, my willpower almost broke through my body. A strong will and a weak body." Yan Chuan didn't know if he should be happy or sad. After a round of suppression, Yan Chuan was weakened by his own will. On the other side, the moment Qing Long woke up, the two Essence Chi clones suddenly stopped moving. The white tiger stopped in its tracks, slightly startled. He's awake. Mo Yushi's eyes lit up. Big brother? White tiger immediately flew over. Mo Yushi also walked over. Don't disturb him. Yan Chuan suddenly stopped the two. At this moment, Qing Long stood there in a daze as if he was thinking about something. What's wrong with big brother? Isn't he awake? White tiger was puzzled. Mo Yushi immediately saw Qing Long's state. In a moment of panic, she wanted to call out to Qing Long, but when the words reached her mouth, they turned into a soft sigh and she gave up. Qing Long has been enlightened. Mo Yushi sighed. Sudden enlightenment? That's great. The white tiger's face lit up. But when she turned around and saw Mo Yushi's disappointed expression, she immediately understood. Saintess this. Many thanks for the Saintess' help. White Tiger said sincerely. White Tiger was well aware of the reason why Mo Yushi wanted to find Nightmare. Now that she had awakened Qing Long, there was a high chance that she would know where Nightmare had escaped to. However, Mo Yushi gave up on that idea. Her subordinate's epiphany was hard to come by. Mo Yushi would rather not find Nightmare than ruin Qing Long's epiphany. White Tiger was touched by the way she treated her subordinate. Only such a saintess was worthy of his sincere following. Prince Yan, are you all right? Mo Yushi looked at Yan Chuan. At this moment, Mo Yushi looked at Yan Chuan again. She did not know what to feel. The shock that Yan Chuan brought to Mo Yushi was stronger each time. I'm a little mentally and physically exhausted. I'll be fine after some rest. Yan Chuan shook his head. Many thanks, Prince Yan. Mo Yushi bowed to Yan Chuan solemnly. Don't you want to know why? Yan Chuan asked with a smile. Looking at Yan Chuan, Mo Yushi nodded and said, Yushi obviously wants to know, but Prince Yan just saved Qing Long. Yushi is indebted to him. As long as Prince Yan does not want to say, I will not ask. White Tiger immediately nodded in agreement. Since that is the case, I hope the three of you can keep it a secret. Yan Chuan smiled. Definitely. Mo Yushi said solemnly. However, her gaze towards Yan Chuan became even brighter. Prince Yan saved my brother, which means he saved me. White Tiger will not tell anyone about what happened today. White Tiger patted his chest and promised. Chapter 79. Many thanks. Yan Chuan nodded. At this moment, Qing Long's body emitted bursts of green light again. In the distance, the two Essence Chi clones flew over quickly and arrived in front of Qing Long in the blink of an eye. They gradually turned into Essence Chi and surrounded Qing Long. Qing Long formed a seal with his hand. The Essence Chi around his body condensed again and gradually condensed into a Tenjiang Long Azure Dragon. The Azure Dragon became clearer and clearer until it finally looked like a real dragon with distinct edges. Although it was not as domineering as Yan Chuan's will of the Golden Dragon, it was still vivid and lifelike. White Tiger's eyes shone with surprise. Roar! The Azure Divine Dragon suddenly let out a dragon's roar. The dragon's roar was filled with boundless joy. Boom! The Azure Dragon formed from Essence Chi rushed into Qing Long's body. Qing Long withdrew his aura. Congratulations, big brother, for completely comprehending the Qing Long technique. You have condensed Qing Long. White Tiger congratulated. Mo Yushi also looked satisfied. The Azure Dragon returned to normal. Naturally, his face was filled with joy. Suddenly, Qing Long bowed respectfully to Yan Chuan. Many thanks, Prince Yan. You were able to comprehend the dragon's form because of your comprehension ability. Yan Chuan smiled. No, this one cultivated the Qing Long technique. The dragon form I condensed was similar to a dragon but not a dragon. However, I was unable to completely condense it because this one has never seen a real dragon. It was really difficult just by imagining it. If not for Prince Yan, I don't know how long I would have to wait. Qing Long said sincerely. That is your good fortune. Yan Chuan smiled. Qing Long was only at the last step in condensing the dragon form. Yen Chuan's will of the Golden Dragon was only a catalyst, so Yen Chuan did not claim any credit. That's not all. If it weren't for Prince Yen, I might have been drained by the nightmare. I can't thank you enough. In the future, if you need my help, just let me know. Qing Long said solemnly. This is too serious. It's nothing serious. It's what I should do. Qing Long immediately smiled. Yen Chuan gently nodded. I'm not feeling well. I'll take a rest first. I won't disturb you. Yen Chuan said weakly. Prince Yen was injured because of me. Is there anything I can do to help? I have a heart-nourishing pill here. Qing Long immediately said. There's no need for that. I'll be fine after some rest. Yen Chuan smiled. Saintess, about the demonic deer we killed last time, can you? Qing Long looked at Mo Yushi expectantly. I'll leave it to you. Mo Yushi nodded. She reached out her hand and waved her sleeve. A huge block of ice appeared in front of everyone. It was obvious that Mo Yushi also had a spatial treasure. Inside the block of ice, there was a 3-foot-tall giant deer. The giant deer was majestic and colorful. Unfortunately, the giant deer was only a corpse. It was sealed inside the block of ice. This is a Peak Qi Jing Deer King. I hope that Prince Yen will accept it. Qing Long said solemnly. Peak Qi Jing Deer King? Yen Chuan raised his eyebrows. The demonic beasts he ate before were of the lowest level, only Qi Jing Deer King. But the demonic Deer King in front of him was a whole level higher than Qi Jing Deer King. Demonic beasts had a hard time cultivating. Most of them focused on cultivating their body. Therefore, with each level of cultivation, the yuan qi accumulated in their body would increase exponentially. Peak Qi Jing Deer King? Alright, Ho Guang, take it. This giant Deer King will be divided among the 3,000 soldiers. Hurry up and cultivate. Yen Chuan nodded. Yes. Ho Guang said excitedly. The Qi Jing Deer King had already benefited Ho Guang a lot. How much more powerful would the Qi Jing Deer King be? Moreover, the Qi Jing Deer King was at the peak of the Qi Jing Deer King. I'll share the deer meat for you. Qing Long immediately volunteered. Chapter 80. Monsters at the peak of Qi Jing had extremely thick skin. Even a group of mortals would not be able to cut it open. Yen Chuan nodded. Yen Chuan left the rest to the others. Lu Jin escorted him back to the main tent. Although the giant deer was huge, there were many soldiers. Even so, each soldier was given 1 or 2 kilograms of deer meat. This was not ordinary deer meat. It was full of qi and blood and profound qi. 1 or 2 kilograms of deer meat had to be eaten dozens of times before it would not affect the body. Saintess, I was in a state of epiphany and forgot. Qing Long was ashamed. You can't be blamed for entering a state of selflessness. I'm glad that you were able to do it. Mo Yushi shook her head. But Azure Dragon was still a little ashamed. Don't worry. Mr. Monroe may be an expert, but he won't be able to break the formation in a short time. As for Ding Wugu, that half-baked feng shui master, he will only cause more trouble. Mo Yushi shook her head. But we still have Prince Yen. Maybe Prince Yen can really help me. Mo Yushi sighed. Yes. Qing Long did not say anything else. Mo Yushi looked at the main tent. She thought for a while and walked towards it again. Soon she arrived outside the main tent. Lu Jin just came out from inside. Miss Mo. Lu Jin bowed slightly. How is Prince Yen? Mo Yushi asked with concern. The Lord ate a few fasting pills and fell asleep. Lu Jin said. Can I see? Mo Yushi asked. Lu Jin frowned and remained silent for a while. After all, Mo Yushi's request was a bit rude. Miss Mo, don't wake the Lord. Lu Jin thought for a while and finally said. Lu Jin wanted to stop her, but she gave up in the end. She knew that with Mo Yushi's ability, it would be easy for her to see the state of the Lord. It would be better for her to take a look under her watch. Thank you. Mo Yushi nodded. They entered the main tent. In the tent, Yen Chuan was sleeping on a mahogany bed. He was sleeping peacefully. Saintess? Qing Long was confused. Young Master Yan's mind and willpower are greatly consumed. Mo Yushi sighed slightly. It's my fault. If I didn't fall asleep, I wouldn't have fallen for the nightmare. Qing Long blamed himself. Sleeping? Mo Yushi's expression changed. Mo Yushi. Lu Jin, I want to put another bed in the tent. Lu Jin was slightly stunned. I want to enter the dream and catch the nightmare. Mo Yushi said with certainty. Saintess, you can't. You don't know you're a guest in the dream. Saintess, don't make the same mistake as your subordinate. Qing Long immediately shouted. Mo Yushi shook her head and said, I've already made up my mind. There's no need to persuade me. Yes. Qing Long and White Tiger were helpless. Lu Jin said strangely, Miss Mo, I want to know why you want to do it here? Prince Yan's willpower is strong and his talent is extraordinary. This also means that his Yin spirit is strong. It's even stronger than Qing Long's. Qing Long can attract the nightmare when he falls asleep. If Prince Yin falls asleep, the nightmare won't let him go. If I enter the dream, I might be able to help Prince Yin not be troubled by the nightmare. Mou, she explained. The nightmare will find the Lord? Lu Jin's expression changed. Alright, I'll have to trouble Miss Mo. However, can the two of them dream together? Lu Jin asked strangely. Yes, I've heard that some feng shui arrays can do it. The nightmare, as the creator of dreams, will definitely be able to do it. Qing Long, White Tiger, if anything happens to me, wake me up immediately. Mou, she ordered. Yes. They quickly placed a large mahogany bed in the tent, opposite Yan Chuan. Mou, she took a calming pill, closed her eyes and slowly entered the dream. Seeing that Yan Chuan and Mou, she had both fallen asleep, everyone slowly left the tent. The moment everyone exited the tent, a voice rang out. A human face slowly floated up from the ground between the two beds. The face revealed a mournful expression. The Yin spirit that was about to enter my mouth was disturbed by you. This time none of you can leave. The face on the ground revealed a trace of coldness. Swoosh. Yan Chuan entered the dream while he was asleep. In the dream, Yan Chuan was surrounded by people. Yan Chuan stood in the middle, thinking hard about something. Who am I? Why am I here? Yan Chuan thought vaguely. Chapter 81. In the Dreamland. Who am I? Why am I here? Yan Chuan thought in a daze. Around him was a large hall. In the hall, there were two old men standing on the left and right, surrounded by a large number of laughing guests. Yan Chuan stood in the middle of the hall in his groom's robe. Beside him stood the bride with a veil over her head. Who am I? Yan Chuan tried to recall. However, no matter how hard Yan Chuan tried, he couldn't remember. It's time for the wedding ceremony. Why are the bride and groom standing still? The bride and groom must be so happy. They forgot to do something. Young Master Yen is so lucky to marry the #1 beauty of Dream Nation, Miss Mo. What a perfect match. Young Master Yen, Miss Mo, you're a match made in heaven. The guests around them were noisy, and there were waves of blessings. Through these blessings, the two newlyweds vaguely understood who they were. The sudden memory loss could make people accept their identity quickly. It was like a dry sponge suddenly meeting water. It was quickly absorbed and a new identity was quickly confirmed. In the dream, everyone thought that everything was real. Bride and groom, it's time for the wedding ceremony. Hurry. The MC at the side immediately woke the couple up. Yes. Yan Chuan and Mou, she both nodded and agreed in their daze. First bow to heaven and earth. The MC shouted. Yan Chuan and Mou, she bowed to heaven and earth subconsciously. Second bow to your parents. The MC shouted. The two turned around and bowed respectfully to the two old men. Old Master Yen is so lucky. Yes, Old Master Yen, Old Madam Yen, you'll have grandchildren soon. The blessings around them made the two old men smile from ear to ear. Good, good. Husband and wife, bow to each other. The MC shouted again. Yan Chuan and Mou, she faced each other. With a trace of confusion and joy, the two of them bowed to each other. As they bowed, the two of them felt an inexplicable tug at their hearts. The ceremony is complete. The master of ceremonies shouted. Crackle. Firecrackers suddenly sounded. Congratulations. Congratulations to the newlywed for giving birth to a child. The entire auditorium was filled with noise, congratulations and joy. Send them to the bridal chamber. The master of ceremonies shouted. Under the protection of a group of servants, the newlyweds gradually left the scene. Everyone, let's start the feast. Old Master Yen called out. Instantly the atmosphere became even more lively. Yan Chuan and Mou, she were led into the bridal chamber. The bride is waiting. The groom should go and toast his friends and family. The MC explained. Okay. Mou, she and Yan Chuan agreed in a daze. After the groom left, the servants accompanied the bride in the bridal chamber. Miss, congratulations. The servant immediately congratulated. Mou, she was still a little confused. Miss, Prince Yen is a good person. You finally got what you wanted. The Yen family has been practicing medicine for generations, and Miss, our family has been a medicine merchant for generations. What a match made in heaven. The servant said happily. Yes. Mou she nodded. She seemed to have an impression of it, but it was also the first time she heard of it. Outside, a servant accompanied Yen Chuan. Young master, this is your uncle. Let's toast to him first. Uncle is the assistant minister of the Ministry of Rights. He often helps us. The servant introduced. Yen Chuan nodded. After a round of toasting, Yen Chuan got to know everyone in the family. Chapter 82. With a hint of drunkenness, Yen Chuan was sent back to the bridal chamber by his friends and relatives. What a perfect match. The bride is really beautiful. No one in the Great Dream Dynasty can compare to her. Young Master Yen is really lucky. I heard that the current crown prince wants to take the bride as his concubine, but the difference is too big. The court opposed it, so it didn't happen. The banquet continued and the discussions were endless. And in a corner of the banquet, there was a person in a black robe. The hood of the black robe covered his head, and even his face couldn't be seen. His attire was extremely strange, but the people around him didn't think anything of it. The higher you climb, the worse you fall. The happier I'll make you all, the scarier the nightmare will be. You want to catch me? In the dream world, I'm the ruler. I'll break your hearts, I'll make you lose all hope. Eee. The black-robed figure laughed sinisterly. The black-robed figure was naturally the creator of the dream, the incubus. The incubus designed the dream world, and this was just the beginning. In the bridal chamber, the bride sat by the bed and the groom walked in, slightly drunk. Wife, I'm here. Yen Chuan revealed a blissful smile. The bride was filled with anticipation and happiness. Wife, I'll lift your veil. Yen Chuan said gently. As he spoke, he gently lifted the veil. Once the veil was lifted, a devastatingly beautiful face was revealed. Yen Chuan stared at this face and was slightly dazed. Wife, you're so beautiful. Husband? Mou she whispered with a red face. Wife, let's drink cross-cupped wine. Yen Chuan said gently. Good wine was poured on the table beside them. The two of them held the wine, looked at each other affectionately, and drank. Wife, let's sleep. Yen Chuan stared at Mou she's beautiful face and said. Mou she nodded shyly. With a sense of happiness, Yen Chuan gently removed Mou she's clothes. Wife, you're so beautiful. Yen Chuan said softly. Every second of the night was worth 1,000 gold. While Mou she was bashful, the two of them formally performed the ceremony of husband and wife. After a night of traveling in the rain and staying in Dongting, the two young people both experienced the beauty of perfect harmony. It wasn't until late into the night that the two of them fell asleep with their fingers interlocked. 1 month later, at the entrance of the underworld. Father, mother, my wife and I are going for an outing at the back of the mountain. We'll be fine. We'll be back by nightfall. Don't worry. Yen Chuan said to the two elders. Be careful on the road. Also, the few of you, protect young master and young madam. The two elders instructed the 4 household servants. Old master, madam, don't worry. The 4 household servants replied. Following that, Yen Chuan and Mou she got on the carriage. The 4 household servants led the horses out of the city and towards the back of the mountain. At the city gate, the black-robed incubus appeared again and coldly looked at the departing carriage. A month of happiness is almost over. Next is the nightmare. The incubus sneered. 2 hours later, the group walked into a mountain forest. In the carriage, Yen Chuan and Mou she leaned against each other as if they had endless words of love to say to each other. Their fingers interlocked, the two of them looked at the scenery outside the window. Husband, how good would it be if we could stay like this forever? Mou she's eyes blurred as she softly said. We definitely will. I'll definitely protect you for the rest of your life. Yen Chuan said softly. Stop. A household servant suddenly stopped the carriage. The horse let out a long neigh. At the same time, the horse's hooves kept stomping as if it was afraid of something. Chapter 83. What's going on? Yen Chuan poked his head out. Young master, it's bad. We've encountered a pack of wolves. A household servant said in fear. Indeed, following the direction of the household servant's gaze, a pack of wolves came out from a small hill not far away. 5, 10, 15, 20 wolves. A total of 20 wolves. The wolves bared their fangs. Young master. A household servant's legs turned to jelly as he cried out. Run, quickly run. Yen Chuan said anxiously. In the dreamscape, Yen Chuan and Mou she were mortals. Naturally, they did not have any earth-shattering abilities. Escort young master and young madam away, a household servant shouted. Jia. With a flick of the whip, the red horse immediately neighed and galloped. Whoa! A pack of wolves howled. 20 wild wolves immediately howled as they rushed over. The big hunt had begun. Quick, quick! The household servant said in fear. Husband, why are there wolves here? She asked in fear. It's okay, I'm here. Yan Chuan's eyes also showed a hint of panic. Ah! A household servant's scream could be heard. Turning around, the household servant's neck had already been bitten by a pack of strong wolves. 2 or 3 wolves had stopped to eat. The remaining 17 wolves did not stop at all. They pounced even more ferociously. Run, run! The household servant said in fear. Boom! The carriage hit a big rock and the carriage stopped immediately. After all, this was a mountain road. The road was rugged. How could the horses run recklessly? This was the territory of the wolves. Yan Chuan grabbed Shi and rushed out of the carriage. Young master, young madam, run, run! A household servant said in fear. Go up the mountain. Yan Chuan immediately decided. The 2 people and 3 servants ran quickly. However, the wolves did not slow down at all. They were getting closer and closer. Some wolves stayed behind to eat the horses, but some continued to chase after them. Ah! Another household servant was caught by a wild wolf and was quickly dismembered. Husband, husband, how could this be? She was so scared that she started crying. Now is not the time to care about this. Let's go. Yan Chuan's eyes were filled with panic. The shadow of death shrouded the 2 of them as they quickly fled through the forest. His heart was filled with fear. The wolf's footsteps were getting closer and closer. Ah! Another household servant was devoured by the wolves. Woo-woo! The wild wolf howled and continued its pursuit. Ouch! She twisted her ankle and fell down. With this twist, She was unable to get up. Wife? Yan Chuan hugged Shi and started running again. Husband, leave quickly. Don't worry about me. Shi cried. You and I are husband and wife. How can I leave you alone? Yan Chuan ignored her. No, there are too many wild wolves. Put me down. Otherwise you will die too, husband. She cried. Husband, put me down. Oh. Shut up. Yan Chuan suddenly shouted. In the dream, Yan Chuan's personality was gentle. However, in a desperate situation, his personality suddenly became overbearing. Oh. She was frightened by Yan Chuan's shout. However, She naturally understood Yan Chuan's meaning. Yan Chuan did not want to leave her behind. While being shouted at, She's eyes were filled with tenderness. The pack of wolves chased after them. Behind the pack of wolves, the black-robed nightmare demon rode over. Husband and wife are birds of the same forest. When disaster strikes, they fly separately. Yan Chuan? You don't want to leave by yourself? You ruined the feast of fear and despair that I prepared for Shi. I created the dream, so I make the decisions. It's still early. Pack of wolves, continue chasing. The nightmare demon said coldly. Chapter 84. Young master, there's a cave. Let's go in. The last household servant shouted. All right, let's go in. Yan Chuan carried Shi and quickly entered the cave. The inside of the cave was twisted and turned. After a slight turn, they arrived at a large space within the cave. Yan Chuan quickly carried Shi and placed her on a large rock. Whoa! The wolf howled again. Go away, go away. The household servant at the entrance of the cave continuously threw rocks at the remaining 5 wolves. Husband, it looks like we're doomed this time. She said in fear. We'll guard this cave. Father and mother will definitely send people to save us. Yan Chuan was abnormally calm at this moment. Ah! Another scream came from the entrance of the cave. The last household servant had died. Yan Chuan looked over and saw the last 5 wolves tearing and devouring the last household servant. The scene was extremely bloody. In the blink of an eye, the household servant was torn to pieces. She seemed to have guessed it as well. Husband, hurry up and leave. The wolves are dividing the food. Hurry up and run from the side. Leave this place quickly. She said with a pale face. Ridiculous. Run. What will you do if I run? Yan Chuan immediately shouted. Otherwise it will be too late. I'll carry you out. If we're leaving, we'll leave together. I promised you. I will protect you for the rest of my life. Yan Chuan refused. No, carry me. No one will be able to escape. You have to run alone. You have to escape. Moyushi said anxiously. You want me to leave? Yan Chuan stared into Moyushi's eyes. Moyushi looked at Yan Chuan affectionately. Finally, she nodded solemnly, as long as husband is fine. Looking at Moyushi, Yan Chuan also showed a trace of sadness. In the end, he shook his head and said, even if I go out, I may not be able to escape. Moyushi shook her head and said, there's still a chance. Husband, you should leave quickly. Quickly. Yan Chuan stared at Moyushi and closed his eyes. Suddenly he raised his head and took a deep breath. Then he opened his eyes and stared at Moyushi's sorrowful face. A rare smile appeared on his face. I Yan Chuan have a wife like this. What more can a husband ask for? Husband. Moyushi pushed Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan shook his head lightly. With me here, no one will be able to hurt you. No one is allowed to. But husband, it's going to be too late. Moyushi said in despair. Yan Chuan's eyes flashed with determination. He hugged Moyushi and kissed Moyushi's cherry lips. He kissed her fiercely. This kiss caused Moyushi's fear to subside slightly. Remember, you are my Yan Chuan's woman. Live well. After I die, you will be my widow. Yan Chuan said domineeringly. As he spoke, he placed the dazed Moyushi against the wall. He looked around the cave and found a sharp stone. Husband, what are you doing? Moyushi looked at Yan Chuan in confusion. I said before that I will protect you for the rest of your life. The wolves are coming in. I will go out and kill them. Yan Chuan said fiercely. No, husband, you don't know martial arts. Don't go. You won't be able to kill them. Moyushi said anxiously. Turning around, Yan Chuan looked at Moyushi and smiled tragically. I Yan Chuan will not watch my woman die. Once the wolves are full, they will not attack people. If I go out, won't I be able to kill them? But at least we can feed them. Yan Chuan said with a tragic smile. After speaking, Yan Chuan walked out of the cave. I can't kill them, but at least I can feed them. I can't kill them, but at least I can feed them. Yan Chuan's words echoed in Moyushi's mind. At this moment, Moyushi was completely dumbfounded. Feed the wolves? Feed them with what? Feed them with herself? Moyushi's heart felt like it was being squeezed. Her nose suddenly felt sour. No. Moyushi cried. Chapter 85. Yan Chuan stepped out of the cave with a sharp stone in his hand. Outside the cave, the 5 wolves were devouring the last household servant. Yan Chuan's expression changed as he grabbed the stone stick. Far away in the forest, the King of Nightmares kept chanting, You don't know martial arts, you don't have the strength to truss a chicken, you're just a weak scholar. You don't know martial arts, you don't have the strength to truss a chicken, you're just a weak scholar. You don't know martial arts, you don't have the strength to truss a chicken, you're just a weak scholar. He chanted it over and over again. Yan Chuan, who was far away, was also affected by the Nightmare Lord's dream. I don't know martial arts? What should I do? I'm just a scholar, 5 wolves, 5 heads. Yan Chuan seemed to have received a hint and was slightly flustered. Husband, don't, husband. Moyushi's cries came from the cave behind him. The flustered Yan Chuan heard his wife's cries and his expression froze. So what if I don't know martial arts? So what if I'm just a weak scholar? Even if I don't have the strength to truss a chicken, I'll still kill the wolves. Whoever dares to hurt my wife, I'll fight them to the death. Yan Chuan's expression became ferocious. Without waiting for the 5 wolves to come over, Yan Chuan took the lead and rushed forward. Die. Yan Chuan said with a ferocious expression. Chi. The sharp stone knife suddenly pierced through a wolf. The King of Nightmares looked at this scene and said in surprise, How can this be? How can he have such a strong will? In the dream I designed, you were gentle and weak, how can you be so fierce? In reality, what kind of person are you? Oh. The other 4 wolves stopped eating and looked at Yan Chuan. Come on. Come on. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Yan Chuan said fiercely. Oh. The 4 wolves roared. One of the wolves came and pounced on Yan Chuan. Boom. Yan Chuan was pushed to the ground. The stone saber in his hand was also thrown away. However, Yan Chuan hugged the wolf. With one bite, Yan Chuan viciously bit the wolf's throat. Oh. Yan Chuan fiercely bit the wolf's throat, and it died with a whimper. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The other 3 beasts roared. It was as if they couldn't believe that a weak person could bite a wolf to death. The King of Nightmares anxiously formed hand seals. You don't have the guts, you're afraid of the wild wolves, you're afraid of the wild wolves, you're powerless to fight back. You have no guts, you are afraid of wild wolves, you are afraid of wild wolves, you are powerless to resist. You have no guts, you are afraid of wild wolves, you are afraid of wild wolves, you are powerless to resist. The King of Nightmares kept hypnotizing Yan Chuan with his dreams. He wanted Yan Chuan to accept this mentality. Rumble. Rumble. The three wolves rushed over together and bit Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan was hypnotized by the King of Nightmares, and he also felt a little timid. Don't come over, Yan Chuan said in fear. However, just as a wolf claw scratched Yan Chuan's arm, the bone-scraping pain once again aroused Yan Chuan's instinctive ferocity. Evil beast, you're courting death. Enduring the pain, he grabbed a stone on the ground and threw it at the head of one of the wolves. Perhaps it was instinctive, but Yan Chuan aimed at the wolf's vital point, the skull. Boom. The wolf suddenly felt dizzy. Brr. The other two wolves also started to bite Yan Chuan. His ferocity was aroused, and Yan Chuan became more and more bloodthirsty. Evil beast, you're courting death, death. Yan Chuan shouted fiercely. Rumble. Chapter 86. The weak Yan Chuan at this moment seemed to possess divine strength as he fought with the three wolves. Even though Yan Chuan's body was bleeding profusely and his wounds were increasing, he did not cry out in pain. There was only his ferocious nature that was constantly awakened. Rumble. The cave entrance was in a mess, smoke and dust flying everywhere. In the distance, the incubus continuously tried to hypnotize Yan Chuan, but the more he tried, the more ferocious Yan Chuan became. How can this be? The incubus looked at Yan Chuan in shock. I can't force him anymore. If I force him, he will break through the dream barrier and awaken. What kind of willpower is this? He's so domineering even in his dreams? What kind of person have I met? The incubus wanted to cry but had no tears. In the cave. She heard the sounds of battle outside the cave and knew that Yan Chuan was fighting with the wolves. But her legs were bruised and she could not move at all. Husband. She's tears flowed uncontrollably. She's heart felt like it was being torn apart. She prayed that Yan Chuan would be fine, but she knew that it was impossible. Her husband was just a weak scholar, but he was facing a pack of starving wolves. Was there a way out? One. With a final loud sound, the outside world suddenly became silent. There was no sound from the outside world. She froze, thinking that Yan Chuan had died. For her, he fed himself to the wolves? I definitely will. I will protect you for the rest of your life. With me around, no one will dare to hurt you. No one will. Remember, you are Yan Chuan's woman. Live well. After I die, you will be my widow. I, Yan Chuan, will not watch my woman die. When the wolves are full, they will not attack people. If I go out, won't I be able to kill them? But at least I can feed them. The short memory made She understand what it meant to be heartbroken. Husband, I will always be a member of the Yan family. She said in despair. After he finished speaking, he fell into a deep slumber due to mental and physical exhaustion. After an unknown period of time, She vaguely heard some voices. Young master, young madam, where are you? Young miss, young master, where are you? A faintly discernible voice came from afar. She suddenly remembered everything. She thought of the situation she was in and the fact that Yan Chuan had died for her. Her vision darkened and she almost fainted again. She forced herself not to collapse, but her face was already covered in tears. Miss, where are you? The voice from the outside world sounded again. Here. She held back her tears and shouted. Over there, Mrs. Voice. Over there, quick, quick, quick. An urgent voice called out. Young master. Let's go in and take a look. When the servant and household servant rushed into the cave, they immediately saw She. Miss, that's great. Miss, you're fine. The servant rushed over. She revealed a bitter smile. Fine. Her husband was dead, how could she be fine? Miss, that's great. You and young master are still alive. That's great. The servant said excitedly. Young master? Husband is still alive. She quivered. Yes, we were really shocked just now. Young master is injured all over, but he's still breathing. He's still alive. Young master is fine, you're fine too. That's great, that's great. The servant said. Husband is still alive. I want to see husband, I want to see husband. She was so emotional that she danced with joy. Tears flowed from her eyes like water. Chapter 87. After the incident at the back of the mountain, the couple's relationship improved and they became even more affectionate. Outside the Yan Manor, the King of Nightmares' face twitched. I am the greatest King of Nightmares. I am the creator of nightmares. Is this a nightmare? This is a wet dream. Damn it, I will make you all despair. The King of Nightmares said gloomily. In the blink of an eye, several months passed. In the backyard of the Yen Manor, Yen Chuan was practicing calligraphy in the yard. She was standing beside him with her big belly. Husband, your calligraphy is so beautiful. She said gently. I don't know why, but my calligraphy has been getting better and better. It's like I was born with it. Yen Chuan said with a smile. Ah? She frowned. What's wrong? Yen Chuan immediately went to help her. The little guy kicked me. She touched her belly lovingly. Brat, how dare you kick your mother? When you come out, I'll definitely spank you. Yen Chuan said in all seriousness. You're so annoying. She said with a smile. Haha, I am supporting you. Yen Chuan said with a smile. Husband, do you want a boy or a girl? She asked expectantly. I want both. I like both. Yen Chuan said while touching She's belly. Then why don't you give the child a name? She said. I have already thought of a name. It will be Dong'an. Yen Dong'an. Thanks to that cave, we wouldn't be here today and there wouldn't be a Dong'an. Yen Chuan said gently. Yes, Yen Dong'an. She said gently. Miss Young Master. Bad news. A maid hurriedly ran into the backyard. What's wrong? Yen Chuan frowned and looked at the maid. His Majesty passed away a month ago. Now, the Crown Prince has ascended to the throne. The maid said in a panic. Crown Prince? She was confused. Miss, have you forgotten? Before you and the son-in-law got married, you met the Crown Prince at a poetry gathering. When the Crown Prince saw the young miss, he was stunned by her beauty and swore an oath to marry her. At that time the court objected, but the young miss didn't take it seriously. However, the Crown Prince didn't forget. Furthermore, he's now the emperor. So what? I am now a member of the Yen family. What else can he do? She was puzzled. Yes, the new emperor has already sent someone to meet your parents. I came here secretly. His Majesty hasn't given up yet. It seems. The maid said anxiously. Like what? She started to panic. It seems like they want to take the young miss back. The maid said. Ah? She's expression changed. Bastard. Yen Chuan slammed his palm on the stone table. Miss, I'm just here to report. I'll go back first. The maid quickly left. Husband. She looked at Yen Chuan. Don't worry. No one can break us apart. Yen Chuan said in a low voice. But he's the emperor. Who can be more powerful than him in the great dream country? She said sadly. So what if he's the emperor? No one can. Yen Chuan said in a low voice. She nodded. After thinking for a while, a cold glint flashed across her eyes. Husband, the Mo family is a merchant of medicinal herbs. Actually, the Mo family also has a treasure. If there's really no way out, we'll fight to the death. We'll get rid of the emperor first. Treasure? Yen Chuan looked at She doubtfully. It's passed down from my ancestors. I think it's a poisonous spiritual herb that my ancestors dug up in the deep mountains. It's called Ghost City Grass. She thought for a while and said. Chapter 88. Ghost City Grass? The so-called Ghost City Grass is when it is ignited in a city. The poisonous smoke formed can quickly kill the people in the city, turning the city into a ghost city. So powerful? Yen Chuan was surprised. When the time comes, as long as it is ignited within 10 miles of the new emperor, I guarantee that he will die. She's eyes flashed with a hint of ruthlessness. We can try, let me see. Yen Chuan was instantly interested. Okay, I will send someone to get it immediately. She said immediately. 4 hours later in Yen Chuan's room. Husband, it is in this jade box. She said. In the jade box there was a bunch of palm-sized purple grass. Ghost City Grass, extremely poisonous. She looked at the grass in the box with satisfaction. Yen Chuan on the other hand looked at his left wrist. On his left wrist there was a seed-like birthmark. It was not a big deal as a birthmark, but this birthmark was flashing with green light. It was flashing and it was extremely strange. Why is it like this? Yen Chuan looked at the birthmark with a complicated expression. Flashing? Why is it flashing? Isn't this a birthmark? Yen Chuan stared at the birthmark and kept thinking. He seemed to be in a daze. Husband? She looked at Yen Chuan strangely. Yen Chuan waved his hand, indicating that She should not disturb him. She obediently stopped talking. Yen Chuan kept thinking as if he was about to think, but there was always a layer of fog. What is it? I think I have some impression, but why can't I remember? Yen Chuan frowned and thought hard. He pondered for an entire 2 hours. Mouxi waited patiently. Poison ivy. Yen Chuan abruptly raised his head, his eyes shining brightly. Boom. A large amount of memories rushed into Yen Chuan's mind. Memories, more and more memories. Yen Chuan's face gradually relaxed. The light in his eyes grew brighter and brighter. On the other hand, Mouxi waited worriedly by the side. Seeing Yen Chuan's expression, Mouxi immediately revealed a worried expression. She wanted to call out to Yen Chuan several times to ask what was wrong, but she was also an extremely intelligent person, so she restrained her curiosity. Yen Chuan continued to recall everything. Poison ivy? Ah. Yen Chuan suddenly burst into laughter. He let out a long sigh as if his entire body had become much more comfortable. The king of nightmares found me. Dream? What a dream realm. Yen Chuan said with a solemn expression. Husband, what's wrong? Mouxi finally couldn't hold it in any longer. Turning his head, Yen Chuan looked at Mouxi with a serious expression. Husband, why are you looking at me like that? Mouxi was frightened. Seeing Mouxi's fear, Yen Chuan's expression also eased. Thinking about his current identity, he revealed a bitter smile. Saintess Yushi? Yen Chuan called out tentatively. Husband, what did you say? Don't scare me. Mouxi said worriedly. Looking at the frightened Mouxi, Yen Chuan's expression was complicated. After thinking for a while, he decided not to awaken Mouxi's memories. Don't worry, I'm here, nothing will happen. Big Dream Emperor? He's nothing, we can definitely get through this. Moreover, since I'm awake, then I'll capture the King of Nightmares. Yen Chuan said with certainty. Husband, what did you say? Why can't I understand? Mouxi asked curiously. You don't need to understand, just leave everything to me. Yen Chuan comforted her. Mouxi gently leaned into Yen Chuan's embrace. Yen Chuan hugged Mouxi with a complicated expression. Although it was just a dream and everything would be treated as if nothing had happened after waking up, this memory might never be erased. A few months of being husband and wife left a deeper impression than many vows of eternal love. Yen Chuan could wake Mouxi up in a dream, but what about after waking her up? How would the two of them interact? Once the King of Nightmares discovered something unusual and gave himself away, it would be difficult to capture the King of Nightmares. Therefore, Yen Chuan kept it a secret for the time being. Chapter 89. In the Dreamscape. Great Dream Dynasty's Imperial Palace. Great Dream Emperor was clad in a dragon robe. His face was handsome and his body was sturdy. At this moment, he was anxiously looking at a black-robed man. State Preceptor, that Mo family actually has the Ghost City grass, what should we do? Great Dream Emperor asked worriedly. Does your majesty want Mouxi? The Dream Demon smiled faintly. Of course, if it wasn't for the throne, I would have forced Mouxi to be my concubine. Now I am the Great Dream Emperor. In the entire Great Dream Dynasty, I am the most powerful. What I want is mine. The Great Dream Emperor said solemnly. Yes, you are the Great Dream Emperor, the entire Great Dream Dynasty is yours. Mouxi must also be yours. The Dream Demon hypnotized. Yes, I must have Mouxi. Yen family? I will slaughter their entire family. If Mouxi doesn't agree to be my concubine, I will kill her parents and exterminate her 9 generations. The Great Dream Emperor said coldly. As for the Ghost City grass? They have it, so do I. I can use half of my strength to create a spiritual object that can restrain the Ghost City grass. The Dream Demon said solemnly. In the Dreamscape, the Dream Demon had to pay a price to create a dream. To break the balance, there must be a price. Good, I will trouble State Preceptor. State Preceptor, go create the spiritual object. Ah. The Great Dream Emperor laughed loudly. Yen Manor, Yen Chuan's study room. Mouxi was gently grinding ink with her big belly. Yen Chuan was looking at a map on the table. The map was very strange, only the center of the map was marked. The rest of the map was blank. Husband, you have been looking at this Great Dream Dynasty map for a long time? Mouxi asked curiously. For a long time? Yen Chuan smiled faintly. After laughing, Yen Chuan looked at the Great Dream Dynasty map again. His eyes narrowed slightly as he thought in his heart. A dream demon creates a dream, but this dream is mine. Disrupting my dreamscape? Demonizing my dreamscape? How can I allow others to dictate my dreamscape? Husband, the ink is ready, Mouxi said gently. Thank you for your hard work, wife. Yen Chuan said. It's not hard at all. Mou, she said gently. Yen Chuan picked up the brush, dipped it in ink and looked at the map again. Nightmares demonize my dreamscape so that I can't interfere? I'll start a new dream. Expand the territory of the dream world. Creating a world with a brush stroke? In reality, that's a legendary realm. I can't do it, but this isn't reality. This is a dream. In my own dreamland, I can do everything I can imagine. Yen Chuan's eyes flashed with a glimmer of light. Picking up the brush, Yen Chuan wrote a large character on the east side of the Great Dream Dynasty's map. Qing. As soon as the word Qin was spoken, there was a lot of noise in the map. Psst. Roar. Kill. Endless neighs of horses and the roars of thousands of soldiers could be heard. The whole area around the word Qin seemed to be emitting rays of black light, slowly eroding an area that was about the size of the Great Dream Dynasty's territory. This husband, why is there a sound in the map? Mou, she said in surprise. This is the east of the Great Dream Dynasty. A dynasty called Qin has been born. Thousands of soldiers and horses, listen to my command. Ah? Mou, she was confused. Yen Chuan didn't stop. Instead, he continued to write around the Great Dream Dynasty's map. Zhao. Han. Wei. Wu. Tang. Ming. Qin Zhao Han Wei Shu Wu Tang Ming. As soon as the 8 words appeared, they formed 8 different colored maps, surrounding the Great Dream Dynasty's territory in the center. Chapter 90. Hiss. Roar. Kill. I'm invincible. In the map, the roars of countless soldiers could be heard. Waves of murderous aura seemed to be spewing out from the map. The 8 great dynasties had a grand and boundless aura. Yen Chuan looked at this scene with satisfaction. Mou, who was at the side, hugged Yen Chuan's arm, her face full of fear. Husband. This. Mou, was so frightened that she did not know what to say. Don't ask why. You just need to know that I won't harm you. Yen Chuan said gently. In the past, even though Mou was Yen Chuan's wife, she might have been suspicious and anxious. However, after escaping from the wolf's mouth, Mou no longer had any doubts and nodded naturally. These days you've been acting a little different. I don't understand. However, I believe you. You told me not to ask, so I won't ask. Mou, she said gently. You'll understand in the future. Yen Chuan said gently. Mou, she leaned on Yen Chuan's shoulder emotionally. Qin Zhao Han Wei Shu Wu Tang Ming. 8th King, listen to my command. Gather all of our forces and ambush the Great Dream Empire. Wait for my command. Yen Chuan shouted at the map. In the map, there was a roar in unison. 2 months later, in the palace of the Great Dream Dynasty, the emperor of the Great Dream Dynasty was having a secret meeting with an important official. Your Majesty, the neighboring countries have been restless recently. They seem to be making a big move. According to the reports, the 8 great kingdoms are preparing their troops and preparing for war at any time. Do you know where they're going? Great Dream Emperor asked. I don't know. Since you don't know, then investigate further. I don't have time to care about this now. Great Dream Emperor said. Your Majesty, how can you ignore the country's affairs for a woman? How dare you? Great Dream Emperor glared. Your Majesty, for the sake of Dream Country, even if I die, I will make your Majesty realize that Mou is a disaster. Bastard, I don't need you to teach me about my matters. Scram. Great Dream Emperor shouted. Your Majesty. The officials all knelt down. Men, drag him away. Great Dream Emperor shouted. A group of guards quickly dragged the ministers away. Just as the officials were about to leave, King of Nightmares dragged his frail body into the room. Your Majesty. Nightmare handed over a jade box. The Great Dream Emperor took the jade box. Inside the jade box was a fist-sized red bead. The red bead emitted a faint red light. Your Majesty, this is the poison-fixing bead that I have condensed using half of my power. Wherever the poison-fixing bead is located, the poison-fixing bead will neutralize all poisonous fog and smoke within a 10-mile radius. Nightmare said proudly. Good. With this poison-fixing bead, I don't need to fear the assassination of that ghost city grass. I can use all my strength to snatch Mou. Great Dream Emperor said excitedly. Not only that, when Yen Chuan took Mou, we must torture him even more. Not only physically but also mentally. We must kill his entire family in front of him, so that he will be in so much pain that he will wish he was dead and lose all hope. The Nightmare Lord said. Yes, I want him to die miserably. Great Dream Emperor nodded. And Mou Shi, Your Majesty. Back then she didn't know what was good for her. Your Majesty must punish her. Nightmare continued. That's right. I want to kill Yan Chuan in front of her. Great Dream Emperor nodded like a puppet. Chapter 91. All right, Your Majesty, go all out. The incubus smiled evilly. Men? The Great Dream Emperor shouted. An official walked in. Pass down the order to the military town of Mingzhou City. Capture everyone from the Yan family and the Mo family. The Great Dream Emperor shouted. Your Majesty, do you want to capture everyone? Pass down the order to the military town. I'm worried that if the commotion is too big, the Yan family and the Mo family will receive the news in advance and escape capture. The official frowned slightly. It's fine. The entire Mingzhou city is filled with my spies. The Yan family and the Mo family won't be able to escape. The incubus smiled evilly. That's good. The official replied. Not good. The incubus's expression suddenly changed. Imperial tutor, what's wrong? The Great Dream Emperor was puzzled. The incubus closed his eyes for a moment and suddenly opened them. How is that possible? Why are all the spies I set up in Mingzhou City dead? Who died? I know. It must be the Ghost City grass. The incubus immediately exclaimed. I have the poison-fixing pearl. Why should I be afraid of the Ghost City grass? The Great Dream Emperor said. The incubus turned to look at the poison-fixing pearl. His face twitched and a wave of depression surged from his heart. The poison-fixing pearl is useless, the incubus said sullenly. This spiritual item had consumed half of his strength. The incubus actually didn't need it before it could be used. The incubus was extremely conflicted. Why did he ignite the Ghost City grass? Is Yan Chuan crazy? Why did I meet such a person who doesn't follow common sense? Nothing good has happened since I entered this dream. The incubus was depressed. Your Majesty, there's an urgent report from Mingzhou. A voice came from outside the hall. Come in. The Great Dream Emperor shouted. Soon an official entered the hall. Your Majesty, the soldiers and civilians of Mingzhou City have rebelled. The official said. Rebelled? The Great Dream Emperor's expression changed. Mingzhou City on top of the southern city tower. Yan Chuan placed his hands on the railings of the city tower and stared into the distance. Outside the city, an army of 100,000 was already gathered in all directions, eyeing Mingzhou City Gate Tower with hostility. There was a commander's platform in the center. Great Dream Emperor, dressed in dragon robes, sat on a dragon throne, staring coldly at Yan Chuan. Behind Great Dream Emperor was a black-robed nightmare demon. Roar! 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 The army of 100,000 roared, their roars shaking the heavens. The Great Dream Emperor stretched out his hand, and the three armies immediately quieted down. Yan Chuan, how dare you? Great Dream Emperor shouted. Who do you think you are? Yan Chuan said indifferently. Bastard, when I break through the city I'll definitely cut you into 1,000 pieces. Great Dream Emperor shouted coldly. Destroy the city? Mingzhou City was 80 feet high and 30 feet thick. How could it be breached? With just the few of you? Yan Chuan said disdainfully. How long can you defend? The food in the city can support you for a month at most, right? Great Dream Emperor said coldly. Yan Chuan glanced disdainfully at Great Dream Emperor and ignored him. Instead, he looked at the black-robed Nightmare Demon. Nightmare Demon, puppet Great Dream Emperor, interesting, right? Yan Chuan said indifferently. You know me? You're awake. The Nightmare Demon was shocked. What do you think? Yan Chuan said coldly. He stared at the Nightmare Demon. How can you be awake? How can you be awake? Why can't I be awake? Yan Chuan said with a faint smile. I know, no wonder you wanted to use the Ghost City grass to poison the entire Mingzhou City. The Nightmare Demon shouted. This is my dream, but there are traces of you everywhere. Only by cleaning Mingzhou City can I make you lose control of it. Yan Chuan said indifferently. Chapter 92. Humph, the Dream Realm is so big. What is a Bright Prefecture City? I control the entire Dream Realm. Great Dream Dynasty's various provinces and towns will soon have an endless army rushing over. Once Bright Prefecture City is breached, you and Mou Shi will become my prisoners. As long as I don't let you wake up, you'll live in this world forever. I'll slowly play you to death. Nightmare said hatefully. While talking, Great Dream Emperor and the 100,000 soldiers were all like puppets. Clearly it was as Yen Chuan said, all controlled by Nightmare. You control the world? An endless army? Yen Chuan smiled faintly. Report. Reporting to your majesty, the Great Qin state in the east has invaded with all its might. Now they have already captured 16 cities of our Yong prefecture. The scout said in panic. Great Qin? How did it come to Great Qin? Nightmare's face fell. Report. Great Zhao invaded with all its might, 12 cities fell. Report. Great Wei invaded with all its might, 14 cities fell. Report. Reports of defeat came in continuously. On the commander platform, Great Dream Emperor's expression changed repeatedly. Nightmare was also abnormally shocked. Impossible, 8 countries invading at the same time? Why at this time? Nightmare said in disbelief. Suddenly lifting his head, he saw Yen Chuan smiling coldly. You created 8 countries again? This is impossible. Nightmare cried out in shock. Dreaming naturally, whatever I want, I have it. Ah. Yen Chuan said with a laugh. The king of nightmares looked at Yen Chuan in shock. How much do you know about my nightmare race? Nightmare said worriedly. How much do you know? Just as you said, if no one in the outside world woke me up and you didn't let me wake up, even if I died in the dream, I wouldn't wake up and would only enter a deeper level of the dream realm. Similarly, in the real world, if I don't wake up, you can forget about leaving my dream realm too. Now, even if you let me wake up, I won't agree either. Yen Chuan said with a glare. How did you know? Nightmare asked in disbelief. I also know that in order to enter my dreamscape, you fused your power with my dreamscape. In other words, you fused with the Great Dream Dynasty. The more cities the Great Dream Dynasty loses, the more power you lose. The Nightmare clan created nightmares for others? Today I'll also create a nightmare for you. Yen Chuan smiled. No, it's impossible for you to know the secret of my nightmare clan. Impossible. The Nightmare Lord cried out in shock. Reporting. The Great Qin army did not stop and occupied another 2 cities of our dynasty. Reporting. With the loss of one city after another, the power of the Nightmare Lord became weaker and weaker. Attack the city. Attack the city by force. The King of Nightmares screamed. Attack the city. Great Dream Emperor commanded like a puppet. The 100,000-strong army charged towards Mingzhou City. Guard the city gates strictly. Fire arrows from the city tower. Yen Chuan ordered. Yes. A large number of soldiers on the city gate tower responded loudly. Yen Chuan glanced at the furious Nightmare Lord in the distance and smiled. Why is it like this? I'm the greatest Nightmare clan. I'm the Nightmare Lord. In the dream I should be the one in charge. Why is it like this? The Nightmare Lord muttered to himself. Inside the city Yama Manor. She's pain cries rang out continuously. Young madam, put in more effort. Put in more effort. It's about to come out. Ah. Whoa. Ah. She cried out in pain. Young madam, put in more effort. I can already see the head. It's about to come out. It's about to come out. Chapter 93. On the city gate tower. Yen Chuan coldly stared at Nightmare Lord. The 2 armies clashed. Although they had siege weapons, Yen Chuan's army was endless. In the dream, Yen Chuan controlled Bright Province City. As long as Yen Chuan moved his brush, he could create an endless army. The army outside the city could not enter. Reporting. The Great Han has invaded 3 more cities of our dynasty. Reporting. The Great Tang has invaded 6 more cities of our dynasty. In the dream, time was a hazy concept. News that should have taken a month or even several months was now coming in an unending stream. The constant reports of defeat did not seem to give Nightmare Lord a chance to catch his breath. Impossible. Impossible. Nightmare Lord Jiaohu cried out. Reporting. The capital of the Great Dream Empire has been occupied by the Great Qin. Another scout sorrowfully cried out. What? Nightmare Lord's body swayed as he felt dizzy. Reporting. The Great Tang army has appeared 50 li to the west. Reporting. The Great Zhao army has appeared 40 li to the south. Reporting. More and more bad news came. Bright Province City had yet to be taken, but the armies of the 8 kingdoms had already surrounded it. The armies of the 8 kingdoms slowly spread out, and it was possible to see a cloud of dust rising from all sides. No. Nightmare Lord roared in disbelief. Kill. Yen Chuan roared. The gates of Bright Province City opened, and a large number of soldiers charged out, joining the armies of the 8 kingdoms. They began to slaughter the few remaining soldiers. How could this be? State Preceptor, what do we do? The Emperor of the Great Dream Empire asked. What could Nightmare Lord do? After all, this was Yen Chuan's dream and he was just an outsider. While Yen Chuan did not know how to control the dream, he could throw it into chaos. But now Yen Chuan's will was extremely firm and he could not interfere. Kill. With 1 million soldiers, the Great Dream Empire's last bit of strength was incapable of resisting. In the blink of an eye, all of them were about to die. Yen Chuan stood on top of the city gate tower and coldly watched the scene below. Yen Chuan was best at fighting on the battlefield. In his dream he was naturally invincible. The Great Dream Dynasty was completely under the control of Yen Chuan. Yen Chuan stared at the King of Nightmares. At this moment, the incubus was surrounded by battle cries, but no one rushed to him. With the fall of Great Dream Dynasty, Nightmare Lord knew that all his plans had failed. Even in a dream, there's a day when I'm defeated? I'm Nightmare Lord. Nightmare Lord said bitterly. Yen Chuan, I can't do anything to you and you can't do anything to me. The King of Nightmares said with hatred. After saying that, the Nightmare Lord soared into the sky and was about to flee toward the south. You could still borrow the power of Dream Fuse to escape, but now the Great Dream Dynasty has been destroyed and the Dream Realm is under my control. You want to leave? Yen Chuan glared. Roar. In Yen Chuan's eyes, 1,000 Zhang-long golden dragon rushed out. In the dream, Yen Chuan's will was the golden dragon. It was as if the golden dragon had a physical form, and its dragon might was boundless and invincible. The King of Nightmares, who was fleeing, turned his head and immediately saw the domineering golden dragon. Cultivating the spirit and returning to the void? You are an emptiness realm expert? How is this possible? How can you be an emptiness realm expert? The King of Nightmares cried out in surprise. Brr. The golden dragon grabbed the King of Nightmares with its claws, and immediately, the King of Nightmares had nowhere to run. The golden dragon flew back and circled around Yen Chuan. Chapter 94. Refining the spirit back to the void? Emptiness realm expert? That's impossible. Aren't you immortal? The King of Nightmares screamed. I can't do anything to you? Yen Chuan sneered. That feng shui master lied to me? He said a virtual realm expert wouldn't enter a feng shui formation. How did you get in? He lied to me. The King of Nightmares screamed. A feng shui master? You mean the feng shui formation you're guarding? Yen Chuan asked. Senior, please spare me. I can be your servant. The King of Nightmares cried out in panic. Yen Chuan shook his head. Servant? I don't trust you. No, I can swear an oath, Senior. The King of Nightmares screamed. Swear? I don't believe that. Besides, if you don't die, the feng shui formation we're trapped in won't break. Yen Chuan shook his head. The golden dragon opened its mouth and spewed golden flames at the King of Nightmares. No. The King of Nightmares screamed in agony. The King of Nightmares' body seemed to melt under the golden flames. The power of the virtual realm. The King of Nightmares couldn't resist it at all. Yen Chuan looked on coldly. Rumble. The dreamscape shook as if an earthquake had struck. As the King of Nightmares died, the entire dreamscape seemed to be on the verge of destruction. Inside the city in hell. Wah. Wah. Congratulations, young madam. It's a son. It's a son. The midwife ran to Moyushi with the baby in her arms. Moyushi looked weak. Her hair was plastered to her face with sweat. She looked at the baby the midwife handed her. Her face was full of love. Dong-en, my Dong-en. Moyushi hugged the baby weakly. Rumble. Suddenly the room began to shake. Not good. It's an earthquake. The household servant screamed. Moyushi looked around in shock. Wah, wah. The baby cried as if he was afraid of the end of the world. The golden dragon's golden flames completely melted the nightmare demon, turning it into a transparent liquid. With one last cry, the heavens and earth were torn apart. It's time to wake up. Yen Chuan let out a long sigh. Rumble. The dreamscape collapsed. The golden dragon grabbed the liquid form of the nightmare and rushed into Yen Chuan's body. Meanwhile, in the underworld, Moyushi hugged the baby and looked around in horror. As the surroundings crumbled, everything became illusory. As for the baby in her arms, it gradually faded and disappeared. No, Dong-en, Dong-en. Moyushi screamed crazily. Buzz. The dreamscape shattered. The people in the real world woke up. Qing Long, White Tiger, and Lu Jin were standing guard outside the tent. Suddenly, they heard the sound of Jiaohu coming from inside the tent. Dong-en, Dong-en, my Dong-en. Moyushi's sorrowful cries came from inside the tent. The saintess is awake? Everyone's expressions changed as they rushed into the tent. There were 2 large beds in the tent. Moyushi's eyes were closed, and she seemed to be holding something in her hands. Saintess, saintess, Qing Long and White Tiger said anxiously. On the other side, Yan Chuan's eyes suddenly opened. Lord. Lu Jin immediately went forward. Brush. Yan Chuan said anxiously. Yes. Lu Jin quickly took out Yan Chuan's jade brush. Yan Chuan grabbed the brush, and a transparent liquid suddenly appeared in front of him. The liquid touched the brush and was immediately sucked in. After it was sucked in, the jade brush emitted a faint mist. It was dreamy and illusory. Lord, what is this? Lu Jin asked in shock. This is the dream nature obtained from refining the Nightmare Lord. With this dream nature, it will add a lot of color to this brush. This brush will be called Dream Immortal in the future. Yan Chuan said with satisfaction. On the other side. You. Moyushi woke up from her dream with tears streaming down her face. Dongan. Moyushi woke up with a sorrowful cry. Saintess. Qing Long and White Tiger shouted. Moyushi was slightly stunned. A large amount of memories flooded her mind, and she remembered everything in the blink of an eye. After remembering everything, Moyushi stopped shouting. She took a deep breath and looked at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan also looked at Moyushi. When their eyes met, their bodies froze. Although it was a dream, the couple's life was still vivid in their minds. They even gave birth to a son, Yan Dong'en. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and nodded at Moyushi. Yan Chuan knew that a dream was just a dream. Moyushi could not be the same as in a dream. Seeing Yan Chuan nod, Moyushi's eyes became more complicated. With an indescribable emotion, she nodded at Yan Chuan. The two looked at each other awkwardly and let go of each other's gaze. Chapter 95. Holy Maiden, are you all right? Qing Long asked anxiously. Gently shaking her head, Moyushi said, You guys go out first. Yes. Qing Long and White Tiger replied. Go out first. Yan Chuan said to Lu Jin. Yes. Lu Jin respectfully withdrew from the tent. In the blink of an eye, only Yan Chuan and Moyushi were left in the tent. Moyushi sat up and looked at Yan Chuan with a complicated expression. She didn't know where to begin. The nightmare is gone. Are you feeling better? Yan Chuan asked softly. Taking a deep breath, Moyushi's face broke into a smile. Thank you, Prince Yan. Moyushi took several deep breaths. The cage is broken. Don't worry about Ding Wugu and the others. The inner formation isn't that easy to break. Once we leave the cage, we'll reach the deepest part of the feng shui formation, Yan Chuan said. The deepest part? Moyushi's expression changed. Correct. This feng shui cage is both a desperate situation and a shortcut. It's not easy to break it, but once it's broken, we'll reach the deepest part. Fortune and disaster are interdependent. Who can say for sure? Yan Chuan smiled. You know a lot. Moyushi blurted out. Perhaps the love in the dream had been too unforgettable. At this moment, Moyushi's eyes revealed a sliver of emotion that she didn't even notice. It was very faint. Neither of them noticed. Yan Chuan quietly looked at Moyushi for a while, then gently stood up. I'm here. I'll help you get the Myriad Wonders demonic lotus. With that, Yan Chuan slowly stepped out of the tent. Moyushi stared at Yan Chuan's back view in a daze. The words I'm here kept echoing in her mind. Although it was just 3 words, they were heartwarming. Moyushi looked at Yan Chuan and was momentarily speechless. After Yan Chuan walked out of the tent, Moyushi once again took deep breaths to shake off the interference of the dream world. Yan Chuan walked out of the tent and saw 3,000 soldiers gathered outside. Lord, Huo Guang said respectfully. Lord, 8 gates have appeared in all directions. Has the cage been broken? Lu Jin asked excitedly. Qing Long and White Tiger have also gone to investigate the 8 gates. Huo Guang said from the side. Yan Chuan looked around. Indeed, there were 8 gates on the walls. Qing Long and White Tiger were investigating. How long have I been asleep? Yan Chuan turned around and looked at Lu Jin. 2 months. Luckily, Lord ate a few fasting pills before sleeping. Lu Jin said. 2 months? Then what do you eat? Yan Chuan asked curiously. Qing Long gave us the Peak Qi Jing demonic deer last time. It allowed us to hold on for a while. After that, Qing Long and White Tiger gave us 3 more demonic beasts. Although they were not as strong as the demonic deer, they were still Qi Jing demonic beasts. We owe them a lot these days. Huo Guang said excitedly. Oh? If that's the case, then your cultivation has improved? Yan Chuan's eyes lit up. Yes, my subordinates are at LV9 of the Strength Realm. 10 of them are at LV8 of the Strength Realm. The rest are at LV7 of the Strength Realm. In the entire Yen state, our Protector Battalion will be the best. Huo Guang said excitedly. Not far away, the 3,000 soldiers also said with admiration in their eyes. Their excitement was indescribable. Good, I am very happy. Yan Chuan said with satisfaction. But LV7 of the Strength Realm? LV8? LV9? Is it enough? I think it's still far from enough. There are still the Essence, Qi and Immortal realms above. Do you want to follow me to the Immortals' territory? Yan Chuan looked at the Silver Armor Battalion. The Immortals' territory? Yes. The 3,000 soldiers said excitedly. Chapter 96. Alright, remember what you said. Now, I'm going to reorganize the Lord Protector Battalion. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Change the Lord Protector Battalion to the 1st Legion. Huo Guang will appoint the 1st Legion commander. 5 people will be a sergeant, 10 people will be a sergeant, and 100 people will be a sergeant. 1,000 people will be a sergeant. Huo Guang will choose and reorganize the legion. Yan Chuan ordered. Yes. The 3,000 soldiers answered loudly. Changing the military system would definitely change the status of many generals in the army, causing the morale of the army to fluctuate. However, at this moment, no one objected. As Huo Guang reorganized the 1st Legion, Lu Jin set up a table for Yan Chuan. She took out a scroll and took out several plates of delicacies from the scroll. Lord, these are the demonic beast meat left for the Lord. The Lord hasn't eaten anything for 2 months. Please eat. Lu Jin said respectfully. Yan Chuan nodded. Although he had fasting pills to support him for 2 months, how could fasting pills compare to meat? Yan Chuan ate the meat while waiting for Huo Guang to reorganize the 1st Legion. At this moment, Mo Yushi also calmed down and walked out of the tent. She looked at Yan Chuan who was eating. Although her expression was normal, there was a complicated look in the depths of her eyes. Saintess, there are 8 entrances in the surroundings. Saintess and Prince Yen have already eliminated the incubus? Qinglong ran over and asked. Mo Yushi nodded. Then, which one should we enter? White Tiger asked. Mo Yushi walked in front of Yan Chuan. Prince Yen? Mo Yushi asked for help. Yan Chuan paused. It's already been 2 months. I don't mind waiting a little longer. Miss Mo, do you want to eat? We'll continue after eating. No need, we'll wait for Prince Yen. Mo Yushi shook her head. It was as if he was afraid to eat with Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan was eating the meat of a Qi Jing peak monster. There was no restraint at all. He kept eating. Lu Jin, who was standing at the side, had an indifferent expression at the beginning. However, she gradually revealed a worried expression. Lord, even Huo Guang, who is at LV9 of the Strength Realm, wouldn't dare to eat so much. Lu Jin said worriedly. It's all right. Yan Chuan shook his head. Waves of Yuan Qi spread out in Yan Chuan's abdomen. A large amount of profound Qi flooded Yan Chuan's body. If it was someone else at LV7 of the Power Realm, they would have been bleeding from their 7 orifices. However, Yan Chuan's willpower was able to suppress the power of the primordial Qi, extracting and absorbing it continuously. Ka-ka-ka-ka-ka. Yan Chuan's body emitted a series of bone-cracking sounds. Boom. With a loud sound, Yan Chuan's body glowed with a golden light, and a gentle breeze radiated from Yan Chuan's body. Congratulations, Prince Yen, for reaching LV8 of the Strength Realm. Qinglong said in a strange tone. It was the first time that Qinglong saw someone breaking through while eating. What? You can break through while eating? Of course, even though they had never seen it happen, Qinglong and the others could understand. With such a strong willpower, breaking through while meditating was just icing on the cake. After the meat was gone, Yan Chuan exhaled a mouthful of foul air. He put down his chopsticks and looked at Huo Guang, who was not far away. Lord, the 1st Legion has been reorganized. Huo Guang said seriously. Good, let's get ready to go. Yan Chuan nodded. Yes. Prince Yen, which of the 8 exits should we go through? Qinglong asked. We don't need to go through the door. The nightmare is dead, and the cage is no longer protected by the dragon bloodline. We can just destroy it. Yan Chuan smiled. Qinglong was slightly surprised. Do it. Mo Yushi said. Yes. Qinglong nodded. Qinglong reached out his hand and hit a wall. Chapter 97. A cyan palm print blasted out with a loud bang. It slammed into the wall. Boom. There was a loud bang and the ground shook violently. At the place where the palm landed, rubble flew everywhere and smoke and dust rose. Although it was hazy, they could vaguely see some flowers and trees. Did it really break? White Tiger was delighted. Boom. Boom. White Tiger also attacked in all directions. Waves of impact destroyed the surrounding walls. The roof above looked like it was about to fall, but it gradually disappeared halfway. All of the bricks in the hall had disappeared, as if they had never existed in the first place. Why is it gone? White Tiger was shocked. The feng shui array is illusory and real at the same time. When it's useful, it's real. When it's useless, it's fake. Yan Chuan explained. Feng shui is really strange. White Tiger shook his head. Everyone looked around. It was like a forest, but the forest was surrounded by fog. They could only see 100 feet away. They couldn't see anything further. Prince Yan, where is this? Imoyushi asked. We're here. This is the deepest part of the feng shui array. It's a world that seems illusory. The 10,000 wonders demonic lotus you mentioned should be sealed somewhere here. Just look for it. Yan Chuan said softly. Okay. Imoyushi nodded softly. Qing Long and White Tiger looked at Imoyushi strangely. The saint had never acted like a little girl before. Imoyushi seemed to have noticed her abnormality. Her face suddenly turned serious. Qing Long, White Tiger, start searching around. Yes. In the foggy forest, Yan Chuan and the others were looking for the 10,000 wonders demonic lotus. Not far from them, in a valley shrouded in fog. A snake, young Master Yang. Save me. A hoarse and unpleasant voice was heard. Boom. With a loud bang, two figures rushed out of the valley. The two figures landed on the mountain peak. It was Yang Zigu and Ding Wugu, who was blind in one eye. The two of them stood on the mountain and looked at the valley. The valley was like a swamp. Originally, it was covered by a large amount of wild grass. After Yang Zigu and Ding Wugu stirred it up, a large number of poisonous snakes suddenly swam out from the wild grass. Although the poisonous snake hadn't become a demonic beast, its colorful skin showed the intensity of its venom. Ding Wugu, it's just a bunch of poisonous snakes. What's wrong with you? You're even afraid of poisonous snakes? Yang Zigu frowned. Ding Wugu covered his blind eye that was oozing pus and said with grief and indignation, if it was before, I naturally wouldn't be afraid. But this eye of mine was blinded by Yan Chuan. We are feng shui masters, and our spiritual eyes are connected to the heart. It will take a long time for us to adapt to the blindness of one eye. Otherwise, why would I be trapped in these poisonous snakes? Blindness in one eye affects you that much? Yang Zigu asked in surprise. Ding Wugu gritted his teeth and said, Young Master Yang, I beg of you. I've already brought you to the deepest part of this place. With Mr. Monroe's ability, he will definitely be able to break the formation in the end. At that time, young Master Yang will obtain the 10,000 wonders demonic lotus and save the Saintess Yushi. That Yan Chuan will definitely come out. I only want to cut Yan Chuan into pieces to avenge my blind eye. Ding Wugu said hatefully. You want to kill Yan Chuan? Yang Zigu looked at Ding Wugu. Yes, I want Yan Chuan dead. I want all 3,000 of his soldiers dead. I want revenge. Ding Wugu said with a ferocious expression. Good. Yang Zigu said with an evil smile. He had been unhappy with Yan Chuan for a long time. Ding Wugu wanted to kill him so naturally he could do him a favor. Chapter 98. Shio? A red light shot from afar. It landed in front of Yang Zigu. Rosefinch? You found the 10,000 wonders bewitching lotus? Yang Zigu asked. No, not yet, but I sense Big Brother. Qing Long and White Tiger are here too. The Saintess should be here too. Rosefinch said excitedly. Oh? Yang Zigu raised his eyebrows. Impossible. Aren't they in the cage? Ding Wugu shouted. It's true. The four of us have a secret technique that allows us to sense each other in short distance. Xuanwu should be looking for the Saintess. Rosefinch shook his head. We went through a lot of trouble and broke dozens of arrays to get here. Aren't Yan Chuan and the rest in the cage? Could it be that Yan Chuan lied to me again? He lied to me again? Bastard. Ding Wugu's eyes were ferocious. Yang Zigu's expression changed. So, Xuanwu went to find them? Yes, young Master Yang, let's meet up with the Saintess. Rosefinch said. Ding Wugu's expression flickered. He looked at the snake cave in the valley and squinted his eyes. No, let the Saintess and the rest come here. Ding Wugu said immediately. Rosefinch didn't understand. We agreed to wait here for Mr. Monroe. You know Mr. Monroe's ability. Maybe he already found some clues about the 10,000 Wonders bewitching lotus. It'll be bad if he can't find us. We'll wait here for Mr. Monroe. You lead the Saintess here. Ding Wugu explained. After saying that, Ding Wugu gave Yang Zhijiao a look. Yang Zigu understood and nodded. Yes, we'll wait here. Seeing that Yang Zigu was insistent, Rosefinch could only agree. All right, young Master Yang, be careful. We'll come quickly. All right. Yang Zigu nodded. Swish. Rosefinch took a step and shot into the distance. When Rosefinch walked away, Ding Wugu immediately bowed to Yang Zigu. Young Master Yang, that Yen Chuan has definitely come out. I want all 3,000 of his soldiers to die from 10,000 snakes piercing their hearts. Ding Wugu pointed at the countless poisonous snakes in the valley and said with a sinister expression, 10,000 snakes piercing the heart? Yang Zigu's expression changed. They will die in this valley. There are hundreds of thousands of poisonous snakes in this valley. Young Master Yang is a Qi Jin expert. I would like to trouble young Master Yang to set up a Qi wall around the valley to isolate the poisonous snakes. Once I lure Yen Chuan's army into the Qi wall, I will break the Qi wall and trap them in the snake cave. 10,000 snakes will pierce through their hearts. Ding Wugu said with hatred. Yen Chuan was on a hill. Xuanwu and Rosefinch suddenly came in front of Mo Yushi. Xuanwu, Rosefinch, it really is you. Qing Long said with a smile. Saint Big Brother, second brother. The two were also delighted. When did you get here? Mo Yushi asked anxiously. Just yesterday. We just entered this place. Mr. Monroe said that this should be the deepest part of the valley. The 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus should be here. Rosefinch immediately said. So, did you find the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus? Mo Yushi asked worriedly. Not yet. We were searching in different directions when we suddenly sensed Big Brother's presence and came here. Xuanwu said. That's good. Mo Yushi let out a long sigh. Young Master Yang is waiting for Mr. Monroe over there. He asked me to bring the saint to meet up with him. Rosefinch said. Meet up? That's good. Mo Yushi showed a trace of confidence. Since they did not find the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus, Mo Yushi still had a chance to obtain it. Prince Yen? Mo Yushi looked at Yen Chuan. That's good. Lead the way. Yen Chuan smiled. Chapter 99. Prince Yen, I will pave the way for you. Qing Long immediately shouted. Rosefinch and Xuanwu looked at each other, their eyes filled with curiosity. Both of them could feel the change in everyone's attitude towards Yen Chuan. The Saintess was much friendlier to Yen Chuan, and Qing Long was extremely respectful to Yen Chuan. White Tiger saw that the two of them were puzzled and immediately shouted, Prince Yen saved Big Brother's life in the cage. You should be more polite to Prince Yen. The two of them looked serious. Then they bowed respectfully to Yen Chuan. The four of them were as close as brothers. Although they did not know how Yen Chuan saved Qing Long since White Tiger said so, it was a fact. The saving grace made the two of them feel grateful to Yen Chuan. Along the way the army crossed mountains and rivers. With the four experts opening the way, the obstacles in the mountain path could be instantly removed, and the river could be instantly frozen. The army of 3,000 quickly arrived near Yangzigu. On the mountain peak, Yangzigu and Ding Wugu looked coldly at the approaching army. 3,000 soldiers, not a single one died? Ding Wugu said with a gloomy face. Indeed, not a single one died. Yangzigu raised his eyebrows. Young Master Yang can imagine, if not for Yen Chuan's deliberate design, why would we choose to enter the Yang Gate? Yen Chuan must have deliberately framed us. Otherwise, with so many mortals, how could nothing happen to them? Ding Wugu said with hatred. Indeed, after entering the Yang Gate I almost lost my life once. Yangzigu said with a gloomy face. So, I ask young Master Yang to support me later. Ding Wugu said again. Okay. Yangzigu nodded. At this moment, Yen Chuan's army slowly approached them from afar. The army stopped, and Mo Yushi raised her head to look at Yangzigu and Ding Wugu. Yen Chuan. Ding Wugu suddenly shouted. Yen Chuan narrowed his eyes and looked at Ding Wugu. All the soldiers looked at Ding Wugu, their eyes filled with ruthlessness. It turns out to be Feng Shui Master Ding. What? Are you missing an eye? Do you need to stand so high to see me? Yen Chuan said coldly. As the primary soul of the First Legion, Yen Chuan had a grudge with Ding Wugu. Naturally he would not be polite. A mere mortal dog blinded me and tricked me into entering the Chaos Array. It deserves to die. Ding Wugu said coldly. Ding Wugu? Yushi's eyes widened. Qinglong and White Tiger both glared at Ding Wugu. Yushi, this is a personal grudge between Ding Wugu and Yan Chuan. You don't have to worry about it, Yang Zigu said with a smile. Mortal dog? Ah, you're talking about yourself. Yan Chuan's eyes were filled with killing intent. Ding Wugu, are you crazy? Also, Yang Zigu, why are you shouting? Yushi said unhappily. Yan Chuan, if you have the ability, don't hide behind a woman. I'll allow you to have an army of 3,000 to settle this grudge with me. How about it? Ding Wugu shouted again. Bastard. Yushi glared. At this moment, Yan Chuan suddenly waved his hand and stopped Yushi. Miss Mo, calm down, Yan Chuan said with a smile. After laughing, Yan Chuan turned to Ding Wugu and said, So, you want to challenge me? That's right. Do you have the guts? Ding Wugu said coldly. Ding Wugu, you're in the essence realm. How dare you challenge someone in the strength realm? Qinglong scolded. Ding Wugu snorted coldly. Yushi naturally wanted to stop him. However, before she could say anything, Yan Chuan spoke first. Miss Mo, since Ding Wugu wants to challenge me, then please be my witness, Yan Chuan said solemnly. Chapter 100. Yushi's expression became complicated. But when she thought of Yan Chuan's miraculous performance, her expression softened. Finally she nodded and said, Since you want to, then fine. Shio. On the mountain, Ding Wugu and Yang Zhijio quickly descended the mountain and approached. Yushi, they have a personal grudge. You and I shouldn't interfere. Yang Zigu smiled and walked over. Yes, Saintess. Although I am in the essence realm, Yan Chuan also has 3,000 soldiers. Let's have a fair fight. No one should interfere, Ding Wugu said. Looking at Ding Wugu, Yushi sneered. Fine, I won't interfere. No one is allowed to interfere, Yushi said. Yes, no one is allowed to interfere. Yang Zigu thought that Yushi was giving him face and laughed. Prince Yan, be careful, Yushi said to Yan Chuan worriedly. Yan Chuan nodded. Yang Zigu saw Yushi's expression and frowned. But soon he relaxed. He thought that he was overthinking. Yan Chuan, come. Let's go to the open area. Ding Wugu pointed at the valley and quickly walked over. Soon he stopped in the middle of the valley. Yan Chuan smiled faintly and walked over. The 3,000 soldiers followed closely behind. However, after walking for a while, Yan Chuan's footsteps suddenly came to a halt. Yang Zigu and Ding Wugu's eyes narrowed. Yan Chuan happened to step on the edge of the ground. You found out? Yang Zigu muttered. What did he find out? Yushi asked. No, nothing. Yang Zigu immediately denied. With Yan Chuan's past experience, how could he not feel that the soil on the ground was unusual? However, Yan Chuan did not say it out loud. Instead, he squatted down and tightened his shoelaces. Phew. Yang Zigu and Ding Wugu both let out a sigh of relief. Ferocious tiger army formation. Yan Chuan shouted. Brr. The 3,000 soldiers roared in unison. Immediately, they assumed the military formation posture that they had rehearsed a few days ago. Mortal dogs are mortal dogs. No matter how many there are, they are still trash. Ding Wugu sneered. As he spoke, Ding Wugu once again took out a small black ball from his sleeve. He threw it with all his might. The small ball exploded, instantly forming billowing black gas that enveloped Ding Wugu. Look, how many of you will die this time? Ding Wugu laughed evilly. Just like several months ago, Ding Wugu used the same move. With a wave of his hand, 100 streaks of poison gas shot towards the 3,000 soldiers. In the past, it was this move that had killed Yan Chuan's generals. Tigers roar in the forest. Yan Chuan shouted. The military formation changed. The 3,000 soldiers immediately activated their blood and qi. Red light gushed out from their bodies. The light broke free from the military formation and instantly condensed into the shape of a blood-red tiger. Roar! 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 The 3,000 soldiers roared in unison. The blood-red tiger suddenly opened its mouth and roared at the 100 streaks of black gas. Roar! The blood-red tiger roared. Instantly, it formed a shock wave that went straight for the 100 streaks of poison gas. The 100 streaks of poison gas were knocked back and rushed towards Ding Wugu. Rumble. Ding Wugu's surroundings seemed to be blown by a strong wind. The black gas that protected Ding Wugu shook violently. Although Ding Wugu was unharmed, his eyes were filled with surprise. The power of the essence realm? Ding Wugu said in surprise. A strength realm mortal can also activate the power of the essence realm when setting up a military formation? Tigers roar in the forest? Yang Zigu raised his eyebrows. Good. Qing Long laughed excitedly. Moyushi also secretly sighed. Her eyes revealed a trace of relief. Fierce tiger descends the mountain. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes. The 3,000 soldiers roared excitedly. The mysterious power of the Essence Realm. The 3,000 soldiers never thought that their military formation would be able to activate the power of the Essence Realm. At this moment they admired Yan Chuan even more. They also paid more attention to the fierce tiger army formation that they had practiced for the past 2 months. According to the military formation, the 3,000 soldiers slowly walked towards the valley. The blood-red tiger image of the soldiers enveloped the 3,000 soldiers and also approached the valley step by step. Fierce tiger descends the mountain, tiger's ferocious might. Chapter 101. Tiger descends the mountain. Ferocious tiger. As the 3,000-strong army stepped forward, the ferocious tiger condensed from blood also stepped forward slowly, staring fiercely at Ding Wugu. The power of the military formation can actually produce such an effect. Looks like we don't have to worry about Prince Yan's safety. Qing Long exhaled deeply. Yang Zigu listened to Qing Long's words and frowned slightly. After all, Ding Wugu was also in the Essence Realm. If the 3,000-strong army could produce the power of the Essence Realm, Ding Wugu might not be able to win. Yang Zigu wasn't too worried. After all, Ding Wugu still had his own backup plan. Snake Cave. A huge snake cave. At this moment, the 3,000-strong army slowly stepped into the snake cave that was covered by grass and air walls. Ding Wugu, Yan Chuan and the 3,000-strong army all stood on top of the snake cave, as if they didn't feel anything. They were still opposing each other. Ordinary dogs can also set up a formation? Amazing, but you will still die. Ding Wugu laughed sinisterly. Vicious and vicious, you are also a kind of talent, but unfortunately you killed my soldiers. This enmity is set. I have no reason to spare you. Yan Chuan said indifferently. Spare me? Your broken formation, once I charge in, it will scatter with just them? Ordinary dogs are ordinary dogs. You can't hurt a single hair of mine. Ding Wugu said disdainfully. A single hair? Weren't your eyes blinded? Yan Chuan laughed. Ding Wugu snorted in anger. While snorting, Ding Wugu took out another black ball. He chanted a strange incantation, and the black ball in his hand suddenly trembled. Ding Wugu's eyes focused and he pushed the black ball. Bang! The black ball suddenly exploded, and turned into a black fog with a diameter of 30 feet. In the black fog there seemed to be countless skulls churning non-stop. The skulls flashed with a faint green light, and the countless skulls let out ghostly wails and howls. Ah! Woo 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 woo! Keek keek! 10,000 ghosts, heed my command. Eat eat eat! Ding Wugu formed a seal in his hand, controlling the black fog of 10,000 ghosts. The black fog of 10,000 ghosts descended from the sky and pounced on the army of 3,000. Boom! The black fog of 10,000 ghosts collided with the blood fiend tiger. The blood fiend was like a great tonic. Amidst the black fog of ghosts, the skulls excitedly gnawed on it. Ah! Tens of thousands of ghosts faced him head-on, gnawing at the ferocious tiger. The scene was oppressive, as if they would bite him in the next moment. If they had not followed Yan Chuan for a period of time, the 3,000 soldiers would have been scared silly. But even though they had seen so much, there were still several dozen people who were terrified. The moment they felt fear, the ferocious tiger army formation had a flaw. What's there to fear from a mere evil spirit? Change formation, tiger body jolt. Yan Chuan shouted. Yan Chuan's voice was filled with a sense of inviolability. When they heard it, they immediately felt a sense of determination. The previously fearful soldiers immediately calmed down. Moving quickly, the military formation changed. Blood chi poured into the spear and pierced it into the sky. Roar! The 3,000 soldiers roared, and it was like the roar of the blood fiend tiger. As the blood fiend tiger roared, its body shook violently. Instantly, some of the black fog around it was scattered. The thousands of skulls that were staring at the tiger and gnawing on its blood chi were also shaken and scattered in all directions. Boom! The black fog of 10,000 ghosts was forced back. The military formation once again blocked the attack. The confidence of the 3,000 soldiers instantly increased. The cultivation of the 3,000 soldiers could not compare to the Essence Realm Xiuzhe, but they may have killed more people than the Essence Realm Xiuzhe. When the blood fiend was activated, the ferocious tiger became even more bloodthirsty. Chapter 102. The tiger stared at the skulls around it. Its eyes were filled with viciousness. Inghost fog? The lowest level magical item in feng shui. It is indeed worthy of the worst feng shui master. Yan Chuan said disdainfully. Who do you think is the worst feng shui master? Ding Wugu was already furious when he saw that the black fog did not work. After being mocked by Yan Chuan, he became even more furious. Even mortals can't do anything. Who do you think is the worst feng shui master? Yan Chuan continued to provoke him. You? A feng shui master like you is a disgrace to all feng shui masters. I think you should tie your hands and beg for death. Bastard! Ding Wugu charged over angrily. Seeing that Ding Wugu had lost his mind, Yan Chuan's eyes became brighter. This was the effect he wanted. Once he lost his mind, it was easy to make mistakes. Ding Wugu charged over. As his hand seals changed, the black fog suddenly surrounded Ding Wugu and enveloped him. Man and fog is one. When the man and fog became one, the black fog suddenly expanded by more than 3 times. Yan Chuan died. Ding Wugu's angry roar came from the black fog. Suddenly, a ghastly white skeletal claw with a diameter of 10 feet shot out from the black fog and clawed at Yan Chuan. The skeleton claw was surrounded by a large number of skulls. Ghost energy filled the sky and it was very powerful. Tiger Chi gathering. Yan Chuan shouted. Yes. The 3,000 soldiers shouted. Their bodies moved slightly, and with the help of the military formation, they poured their blood energy into Yan Chuan. From the outside, it looked like a huge blood tiger had suddenly charged into Yan Chuan's body. Heavenly Dragon Force. Yan Chuan punched out. The blood energy of the 3,000 soldiers, under the guidance of Yan Chuan's fist intent, turned into a bloody fist that was 6 meters long and fiercely smashed at the skeleton claw. Hong. The claw and fist collided. The huge impact scattered Ding Wugu's black fog. Dong 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 dong. A series of footsteps could be heard. When the black fog dispersed, Ding Wugu's figure was forced to retreat uncontrollably. Boom. Ding Wugu steadied himself after he was nearly 20 feet away. However, at this moment, Ding Wugu's mouth was overflowing with blood and his clothes were torn. He looked at Yan Chuan's group in disbelief. Yan Chuan's face was slightly pale, but the fighting spirit in his eyes was even stronger. The sleeve of his right arm, which he had used to punch, had been completely shattered, revealing his powerful arm. Not far away, Yang Ziga looked at this scene in shock. Impossible. Yan Chuan is only in the strength state. How could he defeat Ding Wugu? Yang Ziga's eyes widened in disbelief. Prince Yan borrowed the power of the 3,000 soldiers' blood and qi. That punch already has the power of the essence realm. Qing Long said excitedly. Military formation? Formations can actually be used like this? MOU, she said thoughtfully. Prince Yan will definitely win. White Tiger said excitedly. Not necessarily. Yang Ziga's eyes were filled with murderous intent. On the other side, Ding Wugu stood up slowly and wiped the corner of his mouth gently. He said with a vicious face, "That's all you got? Stop pretending. My punch will definitely hurt your internal organs. If you continue to pretend, you will only get more hurt." Yan Chuan said disdainfully. Oh. Ding Wugu could no longer hold back and spat out a mouthful of black blood. After spitting out the black blood, Ding Wugu's face turned pale and his body went limp. You're only in the strength state. How can you? Ding Wugu said unwillingly. You don't need to know. You shouldn't have provoked me. Chapter 103. Archers. Yan Chuan shouted. Bung, bung, bung. The soldiers quickly drew their bows and aimed at the heavily injured Ding Wugu. Gaga gaga ga. Ding Wugu spat out black blood as he laughed viciously. Provoke you? I killed 2 of your subordinates, so what? They're just ordinary dogs. If I want to kill them, I will kill them. To die by my hands is your honor. You think you have won? Today none of you will live. Receive my gift. Ding Wugu said hatefully. Fire? Ding Wugu smashed another black ball. Large amounts of black gas surrounded Ding Wugu. Shio. 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 The rain of arrows was like that day. They once again smashed into the black gas surrounding Ding Wugu, causing the black gas to tremble. But they were unable to harm Ding Wugu. Within the black gas, Ding Wugu had a cold smile in his eyes. He smashed his palm against the ground. Boom. The sound of ice shattering could be heard. The ground of the battlefield suddenly shook. Ding Wugu forced himself to endure. He stepped forward, wanting to flee. The 3,000 soldiers felt the ground beneath their feet shake. They immediately wanted to investigate. "Don't worry about that. Fire!" Yan Chuan shouted. "Yes." The 3,000 soldiers replied. "Xiu! Xiu! Xiu!" Another rain of arrows flew forward. Although the heavily injured Ding Wugu was protected by the black gas, the impact of the rain of arrows still caused Ding Wugu to shift his position. He crashed into a large rock. "Chem?" Ding Wugu's face changed. "Continue to fire." Yan Chuan shouted again. "Xiu! Xiu!" The rain of arrows did not stop. They viciously smashed into the black gas surrounding Ding Wugu. Like nails, they nailed Ding Wugu to the large rock. "Stop!" Ding Wugu shouted. But why would Yan Chuan listen to him? Peng? Peng? On the ground, a large number of poisonous snakes suddenly appeared. The poisonous snakes were of different colors and were extremely bright. Clearly, their venom was extremely strong. "Snake? Snake?" Some soldiers were shocked. "Continue to fire." Yan Chuan shouted. "Yes." The soldiers shot arrows again. One arrow after another crashed into the black fog, preventing Ding Wugu from moving. No, stop," Jiaohu Ding Wugu said. Because at this moment, there were already over 1,000 snakes surrounding Ding Wugu. Although some were buried under the rain of arrows, there were still a large number of poisonous snakes slithering towards Ding Wugu through the rain of arrows. All around were the hissing noises of poisonous snakes. The gloomy and cold penetrated the black gas, pressing towards Ding Wugu. "Impossible, why don't you have any snakes?" Ding Wugu looked in disbelief at the feat of Yan Chuan and the 3,000 soldiers. Logically speaking, Yan Chuan and the 3,000 soldiers were also standing in the vicinity of the snake cave. After Ding Wugu broke the qi wall on the ground, the venomous snakes should be everywhere. But now there were more and more venomous snakes around Ding Wugu, while Yan Chuan did not have a single venomous snake. This isn't right, this isn't right," Yang Zigu exclaimed in surprise. Yang Zigu naturally knew about the qi wall set up by Yang Zigu, but where were the snakes? Where were the venomous snakes under Yan Chuan's feet? "Snakes? Ah." Yan Chuan laughed disdainfully. Yan Chuan's cultivation technique, Heavenly Dragon Power, was created in his previous life, so it naturally contained the might of the Heavenly Dragon. When snakes sensed the Snake King, they would flee in fear, not to mention the might of the Heavenly Dragon. When Yan Chuan discovered the abnormality under his feet, he released his dragon might. Once the dragon might was released, the venomous snakes under the qi wall all fled, chasing towards Ding Wugu. Therefore, Yan Chuan did not have a single venomous snake around him, while Ding Wugu faced even more venomous snakes than before. Hiss. A small green snake suddenly broke through the black gas and coiled around Ding Wugu's arm. "Ka!" The snake bit down. "Ah!" Ding Wugu screamed. Chapter 104. "Ah!" Ding Wugu screamed. Bang! The green snake was shattered by Ding Wugu. However, the snake venom entered his body. Ding Wugu controlled the black gas around his body to block the rain of arrows, so he was unable to force out the snake venom with his full strength. Coupled with the fact that he was injured, Ding Wugu's face turned green in an instant. "Shoot!" Yan Chuan shouted. "Yes." The group of soldiers replied. It was Ding Wugu who had wantonly killed his brothers. Now he could finally take revenge. The soldiers were filled with hatred as they drew their bows and arrows to the maximum. He showed no mercy. They kept shooting. Yan Chuan didn't do it himself. At this moment, the opportunity to kill Ding Wugu was given to his subordinates. Although the compromise with Ding Wugu that day had basically faded in the hearts of the soldiers, there was still a trace of shadow. As a commander-in-chief, he had to give his soldiers absolute strength and confidence. Not a single shadow could be left behind. Otherwise, it would become a huge problem in the future. Yan Chuan was instilling in the hearts of the soldiers that as long as they followed him, they would not suffer any grievances. Shooting down the enemy was a way for the soldiers to vent their frustrations. After venting their frustrations, they would become even more loyal. Whoosh, whoosh. There were too many snakes and too little meat. Even though a large number of arrows slid past, the venomous snakes continued to advance. In the blink of an eye, Ding Wugu was surrounded by thousands of poisonous snakes. Ka, ka, ka. One by one, the poisonous snakes broke through the black gas and bit Ding Wugu's body. Ah! Ding Wugu screamed. Young Master Yang, save me! Ding Wugu shouted. In the distance, Yang Zigu's expression changed and he was about to rush over. Who? Mou, she suddenly blocked in front of Yang Zigu. Didn't you say it already? This is their personal grudge. It's best that we don't interfere. Mou, she smiled. Ding Wugu fell for Yan Chuan's evil scheme. He's going to die. Yang Zigu said anxiously. What evil scheme? His skills were inferior, so he was just courting death. Qing Long said disdainfully from the side. Saintus, save me, I'm here to help you, Saintus. Ding Wugu called out to Mou. Help me? Before coming here, I took good care of you, but are you really helping me? Mou, said coldly. Ding Wugu's face gradually darkened. No, you can't kill me. Mohina Dojin sent me to help you. If I die, you won't be able to answer to Mohina Dojin. Ding Wugu shouted. Mohina Dojin? There's no need for you to worry about it. You invited me to witness your life and death battle. If you go back on your words, I won't be like you. Mou, she said in a low voice. Ding Wugu, who do you think you are? You're just a half-baked feng shui master. How dare you threaten the Saintess? Qing Long scolded. Young Master Yang, save me, I can help you, I can help you. Ding Wugu shouted at Yang Zigu. Yushi. Yang Zigu looked at Mou awkwardly. Yang Zigu, you're Mohina Dojin's son. When you're outside, you represent Mohina Dojin. You won't go back on your words and make Mohina Dojin lose trust in the world, right? Mou, she stared at Yang Zigu. Yang Zigu frowned and stared at Mou for a while. Finally, his brows relaxed and his expression became cheerful. How could I? Ding Wugu asked for it. He can't blame anyone. Mou, she nodded in satisfaction. In the distance, Ding Wugu was instantly betrayed by everyone and showed a look of despair. No, it shouldn't be like this, no. Ding Wugu spat out poisonous blood and screamed at the top of his lungs. Chapter 105. Whoosh! Suddenly, a white light came from afar and flew into the valley. The white light was confused. While he was confused, the white light shot towards Ding Wugu. Mr. Monroe, save me, save me! Ding Wugu shouted in joy. Qing Long. Mou, she shouted. Whoosh! The azure dragon instantly soared into the sky, blocking the white light in the blink of an eye. The white light stopped. It was Mr. Wenrua in white. Qing Long, what are you doing? Why are you not helping? Mr. Monroe frowned. Mr. Monroe, I respect you, but please don't interfere. Qing Long shook his head. Mr. Monroe, save me, save me! Ding Wugu shouted weakly. Mr. Monroe frowned and looked in Mou's direction. Mr. Monroe, please don't interfere. Mou, she shook her head. Saintess, please don't. I have found the Million Wonders demonic lotus, but I can't get it. We need a feng shui master. Mr. Monroe shook his head. You found the Million Wonders demonic lotus? Mou's expression changed. Yes, it's over there. I can see it, but there's a big shield outside and I can't get in. A feng shui master should have a way. Please let Ding Wugu go for now. Mr. Monroe said anxiously. Yes, save me, I can help you get the Million Wonders demonic lotus. Ding Wugu said anxiously as if he had found a life-saving straw. Whoosh! At this moment, a golden arrow suddenly pierced through the black chi and instantly shot into Ding Wugu's chest. Beep! The arrow pierced through his heart and the tail of the arrow shook violently. Ding Wugu's eyes widened. Bang! The black smoke around him dissipated. Hiss! A large number of poisonous snakes wrapped around Ding Wugu. Ding Wugu followed the direction of the arrow and looked into the distance. You? Ding Wugu pointed unwillingly at the archer in the distance. In the distance, the one shooting the arrow was Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan drew his bow and stood there coldly. An arrow pierced through his heart. Originally, Yan Chuan wanted the soldiers to shoot Ding Wugu slowly. However, when he saw Mr. Monroe arrive, he knew that if he delayed any longer, Ding Wugu might not die. He had no choice but to act. Today, in order to establish his might, in order to receive loyalty, and even more in order to resolve a death grudge, Ding Wugu must die. He infused the heavenly dragon's power into the arrow and killed it with a single arrow. Yan Chuan. Mr. Monroe's expression changed. Anger flashed in his eyes. Yan Chuan returned the longbow to Huoguang and raised his head. Most feng shui arrays contain a heavenly lake. As you said, the myriad profundity lotus must be sealed there. It's just a heavenly lake. There's no need for Ding Wugu. I can take you there. You. In the distance, Yang Zhijio said unhappily. What? You don't believe me? Yin Chuan smiled. I believe you. Mo Yushi immediately shouted. When she looked at Yin Chuan again, Mo Yushi's eyes suddenly had a sense of trust. An inexplicable sense of trust. Mo Yushi also had a feeling that Yin Chuan would definitely help her. Mr. Monroe looked at Yin Chuan with a complicated expression. Then he looked at Ding Wugu's corpse, which was being eaten by thousands of snakes. In the end he could only nod and sigh. Then I'll have to trouble Prince Yen. Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly. Since I'm your guide, it's my duty. If I've offended you, please forgive me, Mr. Monroe. Yin Chuan nodded. You didn't offend me. As long as we get the myriad profundity lotus, nothing else matters. Mr. Monroe said. I'll do my best. Yin Chuan nodded. The 3,000 soldiers watched as Ding Wugu was eaten by the snakes. They all let out a long sigh and turned to look at Yin Chuan. Their eyes flashed with determination. Ding Wugu was killed. Under Mr. Monroe's lead, the army marched in a certain direction. Yin Chuan stood on Mr. Monroe's small boat, which floated forward in the air. Huo Guang's army followed below. We've already found the myriad profundity lotus. Why are we still carrying 3,000 burdens? Our speed has been seriously slowed down. Yang Zigu questioned. Prince Yen, why don't you let Qing Long stay behind to protect your 3,000 soldiers while we go and get the myriad profundity lotus? Mo Yushi also advised. Shaking his head, Yin Chuan smiled and said, No need. I can protect them. You? Just you? Yang Zigu smiled disdainfully. Just me? Yin Chuan said in a tone that was neither humble nor arrogant. All right. Mo Yushi nodded and didn't insist. Mr. Monroe kept sizing up Yin Chuan. However, Mr. Monroe, who had always been insightful, felt that he couldn't see through Yin Chuan. Saint, what have you encountered these days? How did you get out of the cage? Mr. Monroe asked curiously. We've already gotten out. Let's not talk about the cage. Mo Yushi shook her head. Seeing that Mo Yushi didn't want to talk about it, Mr. Monroe knew better than to ask any more questions. Mr. Monroe, when you found the Heavenly Lake earlier, were there other people around? Yin Chuan asked. Yes. Maybe we really did enter too late. When I rushed past the Heavenly Lake, I saw at least 10 people from different sects. Mr. Monroe said. There's already so many people? Then we'd better hurry. Yang Zigu said anxiously. Mr. Monroe shook his head and said, Don't worry, Mr. Yang. The shield outside the Heavenly Lake is not that easy to break. I can't even shake it with my full strength. I'm curious, how powerful is Mr. Monroe's full-strength attack? Yin Chuan asked. I'm at the immortal state. Mr. Monroe didn't hide anything. Cultivating qi into spirit? Immortal state? Yin Chuan thought for a while. This feng shui formation has a very strange history. It has existed for at least thousands of years. I don't know how the rules were set. No one above the virtual realm is allowed to enter. Only immortal state cultivators can enter. Those who dare to go beyond the rules will be punished by the world. Mo Yushi explained. Those who dare to go beyond the rules will be punished by the world? Only those below the immortal state are allowed to enter? Why is there such a strange rule? Yin Chuan was puzzled. I'm not sure. Anyway, all the powerful sects have this rule. Our Dazhao sacred ground is the same. Otherwise, Mohina Dojin would have come here himself. Mo Yushi shook her head. I heard from Miss Mo that Mr. Monroe is a celestial being. Do you know about this? Yin Chuan looked at Mr. Monroe. Mr. Monroe shook his head and smiled bitterly. I swore not to reveal anything. Please forgive me. If that's the case, then forget it. Yin Chuan nodded. Mr. Monroe, you know about this? Mo Yushi was surprised. Not only do I know about it, but Mohina Dojin also knows about it. Otherwise, he wouldn't want to get the Demon Lotus of Wonders. It's just that. Mr. Monroe sighed. Mo Yushi wanted to ask more questions. We're here? Mr. Monroe suddenly shouted. Everyone immediately turned their heads and looked forward. The 3,000 soldiers also stopped when the boat stopped. Chapter 106. We're here? Mr. Monroe suddenly shouted. Everyone immediately turned their heads and looked forward. As soon as the small boat stopped, the 3,000 soldiers also stopped abruptly. In front of him, there seemed to be a yellow gas wall. However, if he looked carefully, he would find that this gas wall was curved. It was a vast cylindrical yellow gas wall. Inside the chi wall, the top was yellow with a golden light, while the bottom was yellow with a black chi. The black gas was wreaking havoc in the yellow light. One could vaguely see a black-purple lotus with a pitch-black root 1,000 feet away. He seemed to be floating in the air. This is yellow light? It can't all be dragon vein energy, right? Qing Long said in astonishment. It's the dragon vein energy, Moushi confirmed. Isn't this too exaggerated? I've never seen so much dragon vein energy in my entire life. How many are there? The white tiger said in astonishment. What a huge feng shui formation. What a heavy evil qi. Yan Chuan exclaimed. Evil qi? Qing Long looked at Yan Chuan. The entire feng shui formation is for this demonic lotus, right? But even with such a huge amount of power from the dragon veins, it can't be completely destroyed? Evil energy wreaks havoc. The myriad wonders demonic lotus is indeed extraordinary. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Does Prince Yan have a way to break it? Mr. Monroe asked. This small world is shrouded in thick fog. We can't see clearly from above. Let's go up and take a look. Yan Chuan said. Okay. Mr. Monroe nodded. The small boat carried everyone along the yellow wall and slowly floated up. It floated higher and higher. 2,000 feet. Qing Long said. Stop. Yan Chuan suddenly shouted. When the boat stopped, everyone raised their heads. The fog above them was getting thinner and thinner, and they could already see a little more clearly. This is a feng shui formation. How can you see the stars? Qing Long asked in surprise. We can't go any higher. If we go any higher, we'll be out of the feng shui formation. This leads to the outside world. Yan Chuan shouted. But I didn't see this entrance when I was in the outside world a few months ago. Moushi said doubtfully. This exit can only be used to exit, not enter. Once you exit, you won't be able to find your way back. Yan Chuan shook his head. Mr. Monroe nodded. That's right. I released a Dharma artifact earlier. Once I left, I couldn't take it back. I originally thought that this was a hemispherical closed cover. I didn't expect it to be a cylindrical open cover. Yan Chuan frowned as he pondered. What's wrong, Yan Chuan? You said earlier that you could crack it. Why can't you do it now? You killed Ding Wugu. If you can't obtain the myriad wonder demonic lotus, you have to take full responsibility. Yang Zigu was still brooding over it. Yan Chuan ignored Yang Zigu and stared at the sky. Vaguely, Yan Chuan seemed to see a green pillar. It was very faint, so faint that he almost couldn't see it. The pillar was connected to the heavenly lake, and the other end was connected to the stars in the distance. What's that? Yan Chuan's eyes widened. Mr. Monroe's expression changed drastically as well. What's wrong? Yang Zigu was puzzled. That pillar? Is it the power of the stars? Mr. Monroe looked at Yan Chuan as if he was asking for confirmation. Absorbing the power of the stars? What a powerful feng shui formation. Who set it up? It absorbed the power of the 9 heavenly stars to destroy the myriad wonder demonic lotus? Yan Chuan's expression changed slightly. Absorbed the power of the 9 heavenly stars? Moushi said in surprise. The person who set up the formation is called Master Damiao. Mr. Monroe thought for a moment and said, Master Damiao? Yan Chuan said in surprise. He's not a Master Damiao. He should be a Master Damiao. According to the ancient records, he was at the pinnacle of the virtual realm. He only needed to go through the tribulation to become a Master Damiao. However, in the end he died for unknown reasons and left behind this formation. Mr. Monroe thought for a moment and said. Chapter 107. Did the book mention how to break it? Yang Zigu asked. No. It's just a passing note. Mr. Monroe shook his head. Prince Yan, do you have any ideas? Mr. Monroe asked. Yan Chuan stared at the sky and looked at the stars. The power of the stars comes from the army destroyer? Yan Chuan asked seriously. Mr. Monroe looked up at the sky and nodded. That's right. This array is indeed extracting the power of the stars from the army destroyer. Look at the stars around the army destroyer. Could it be that the army destroyer was among the 9 stars a few months ago? Yan Chuan looked at Mr. Monroe. You don't know? Mr. Monroe asked curiously. I was asleep that day. Which 9 stars were it? It's the Big Dipper. Tanlang, Juman, Wuxia, Army Destroyer, Wenxiu, Lisan, Lianjin, Zuofu, and Yubi. Mr. Monroe said. The Big Dipper? How can the 9 stars be connected in a line? Yen Chuan asked in surprise. That's why it's said to be a rare occurrence. No, there have been a lot of Big Dipper events since ancient times, but this is the first time the Big Dipper has been connected in a line. Mr. Monroe thought about it and said, let's go down first. Yen Chuan took a deep breath and said, eh. Mr. Monroe nodded. The boat slowly sank down. Prince Yen, do you have a way to break this wall? She asked anxiously. It's not difficult to break the wall of the Sky Lake. The main thing is, are you sure you can get the Demon Lotus? Yen Chuan smiled. She's expression changed. She immediately understood and a hint of gratitude flashed in her eyes. Then we'll have to trouble Prince Yen. She took a deep breath and said, I will do my best. Yen Chuan nodded. Yen Chuan, how do we break through this heavenly pool wall? Yang Zigu asked bluntly. We still need to wait for about half a month. Yen Chuan shook his head. With that, Yen Chuan got off the boat and looked at the 3,000 silver armors. Huoguang, let's set up camp and rest. Yen Chuan ordered. Understood. Huoguang replied. Huoguang left to command the army. However, Yen Chuan looked at Shi and said, Miss Mo, can you let Qing Long, White Tiger, and the others go around the heavenly pool wall and patrol around to see how many experts there are? Did you hear what Prince Yen said? Shi ordered. Yes, we'll go now. Qing Long, Rosefinch, White Tiger, and Xuanwu immediately flew out. Prince Yen wants to unite the experts and attack the heavenly pool wall together? Mr. Monroe asked. That's right. There's no other way. Yen Chuan nodded. What kind of bullshit method is that? Do you even need to think about it? Isn't it just a group attack if one person can't break it? Yang Zigu suddenly shouted. Yang Zigu. She shouted in disgust. When Yang Zigu saw that Shi was angry, he immediately stopped scolding Yen Chuan. It's not that simple. I just checked. This array is connected to the stars. The walls are not only strengthened by the dragon energy, but also by the power of the stars. Even an emptiness realm expert might not be able to break it. We have to wait until the middle of the month, when the array is at its weakest. Then, we can attack the 8 fatal points of the heavenly pool wall at the same time to break it. Yen Chuan said seriously. Why do we have to wait until the middle of the month? How do you know which 8 fatal points are? Yang Zigu asked in disbelief. The middle of the month, the night of the full moon, is the time when the yin qi is at its strongest. The power of the dragon veins will weaken temporarily. As for the 8 fatal points, have you forgotten how we came in? Yen Chuan smiled. 8 fatal underworld? Shi's eyes lit up. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.